Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back yet again to another Arch and Sargon stream of the good old kind.
Hello, hello.
A blast from the 2015s, when none of us knew what was going on. Although, I will say, like our very first article here is, I don't know, I don't think any one of us saw this happening in 2015.
No, Trump has been exceeding expectations. He's certainly hit the ground running.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was worried that maybe, because he made some mistakes in the first presidency. A lot of them was trusting too many people.
And the wrong people.
But he seems to have learned some lessons now, as he is doing everything to a pretty extreme degree, too.
Yeah, it's pretty great. The deportations have just been just loads of video clips from like Fox and stuff like that of just ICE agents raiding places. I saw this one earlier where they were going after this guy, and again, these are all criminals. You know, every single one of these needs to go. And they broke in to this house, got the guy, and then found that he had, a couple of foreign roommates, and so they did a bit of investigating on them. It turns out they were illegal too, so they picked them up and took them as well. It's like, oh yeah, this is superb.
Oh yeah, there was this happened just today, I think. Homeland Security and FBI raiding the office of a prominent immigration lawyer in Providence.
Oh really? That's a shame.
See, this is one of those little cute things, because we all know attorney-client privilege, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's often shown in the movies, how the shady lawyer is talking to the criminals, like, listen, we can do this and this to get away with it. Actually, attorney-client privilege does not extend to the continuation of any sort of criminal activity. So the moment...
Oh, weird, really?
Yeah, no, this was determined in 1933.
Well, no, I was being sarcastic. Weirdly, the attorney isn't allowed to become a part of the criminal enterprise. That's shocking.
Yeah, but very few people know this, surprisingly.
Okay, I just assumed it.
Because that means, again, because I saw a lot of people on this post also going wait, isn't this coercion or something? Are they allowed to do this? Yeah, because the moment an illegal comes into the office and says, okay, I want to keep staying in the US, attorney-client privilege disappears. Right.
See, I'm just hearing Emperor Palpatine. I will make it legal. Just pass the laws, Donald. Just do it.
Indeed. So this does also mean that all of these, because they didn't do this before, because it was probably seen as a little bit of, I don't know, socially unacceptable,
It was a lot woker back in 2016, that's true.
Yep. But now, I mean, just imagine the amount of information they could get from this.
I can't stop imagining. I saw a TikTok video of this illegal crying about it, being like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was like, I broke into this country because I wanted a better life, and I wanted a better life for my daughter, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I hate you, Donald Trump. It's like, look, do you even hear yourself? You were essentially saying that I deserve to be able to steal and build something on the backs of the Americans without following their laws, without having to go through, all the various processes. And I'm entitled to it because I'm me, and you can just suck it up because you're you. And I'm just like, no, I've got no sympathy. None at all. You deserve to go back. And it's a very reasonable thing for any society to say, no, we don't want people like you. We're sending you home.
Yeah, the only claim to the privileges of being a citizen is that they managed to break across the border.
Yeah, sorry, that's nonsense. And this thing, it's like, if you were there with good intentions towards the Americans, okay, fair enough. But would you break in illegally? Would you, essentially squat in their country if you had good intentions? Or if you were just out for yourself? Right, if you were going to exploit the system, exploit the benefit system, exploit this, exploit that. If you were there for those intentions, well, then it makes sense to get rid of you, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And again, like there doesn't seem to be any good, how do I put it? Like pushback against this. It genuinely, like the Democrats have been remarkably silent.
Well, actually, that's not true. They are screeching. It's just no one's listening.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like they're just screeching too. Like there's not. I'll play a clip here, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So this is from Jon Stewart, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And he was interviewing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
And this is quite revealing, I think.
You have this act that's brought forth, and Republicans say, okay, well, this person, if you have a criminal record, if you've, sexually assaulted somebody, you should be deported. And so that's the guise of this bill, right? And they said, so that should be the law. Except that's not what's in this law. Because A, that is existing U.S. law. It is existing U.S. law.
Why isn't it done then?
And, well, I mean, I think there are individual cases where I'm not sure. But
amazing.
Because you could tell she thought she had an argument there. That's actually already the law. And in a moment of clarity, Jon Stewart asks, why aren't they being deported then?
Well, look, I love the position she's got there. That's already the law. It's like, well, what's the substance of your objection then?
Yeah, and she doesn't have one.
Is it purely a procedural objection that you have to this? Is it, well, I mean, this is just a waste of taxpayer funds and time. No, that's not it. What she's arguing is on the moral grounds that it's wrong to send these people home. But it's, of course, not wrong to send these people home. It's, in fact, wrong that they're in the country in the first place.
Yeah, and she hasn't thought beyond that. Oh, it's wrong. She's taken her first moral reaction and ran with it. And when, again, in a moment of clarity, Jon Stewart accidentally reveals this, she's like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure why it's not happening. Why isn't it happening, John? Like, fuck am I know? I haven't been in power.
I haven't really thought this through, to be honest, John. Amazing.
It's brilliant. And like, I think as well, this kind of comes across like they not getting their marching orders.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I kind of figured that the Democratic establishment had pretty much written off Biden and Kamala almost immediately. But they seem almost shell-shocked that this has happened so quickly.
Yeah, they don't have any good narratives, right? Like the narratives have all been undermined. Like the Lake and Riley case is a particularly egregious thing. The Republicans have been correctly emphasizing, being like, look, these illegals shouldn't be in this country so they can murder our women and girls. Like, that's just, I mean, I shouldn't have to say that, but like, this is just common sense. And we're going to make sure it's not the case. And so what's the moral argument against that? No, we want the illegals who, I mean, like literally 10,000 known murderers were released by ICE in 2023, I think it was. But just catch and release into the country, convicted murderers. Like, what? Why would you allow a single one, let alone 10,000? That's a fucking army. Slut. Harold Hardrada had 10,000 at Stamford Bridge. Weird how many references we're going to get to that, actually.
Yes.
Like, Hardrada had 10,000 people at Stamford Bridge. He was trying to conquer England. You think 10,000 murderers couldn't do some fucking damage?
Well, again, their argument right now basically boils down to things like this one here. We don't need to listen to it because it's pretty explanatory, but it's just, hey, we need people to pick our fruits.
Yeah, the slave class. We need
exactly.
Class. Yeah.
The leading Democrat argument right now is, yes. I need somebody to pick my fruit for $5 an hour.
Yes, the eternal, why are they freeing our slaves argument. Yeah, sorry, Democrats. This has been rough on you for the last 200 years.
It's like, it's such a nonsensical argument, too, because the entire...
That makes sense. They need slaves.
That's right,
it's very logical. What are you talking about? They think they're entitled to a slave class, and you're getting rid of the slaves. I mean, this is terrible.
And look, I've seen so many of these where they go, oh, who's going to mow our lawn? Who's going to clean our toilets? Like, Jesus Christ, are you listening to yourselves?
Oh, yeah, good point. We better get those ultra cheap servants in then. Good thinking.
And here's the thing. Our society have already come up with the answer to that problem. Children. Children will do those things.
Yeah, teenagers. That's what they're for.
Yeah, like it used to be. I remember when I was a kid, there was a huge part of the culture that every summer you'd go find a job for the summer and you'd earn a little bit of extra money. You'd save up for a bike or whatever else you wanted, you know?
Yep. I used to live in Newquay, and before I went to university, for £3.25 an hour, because there was no such thing as minimum wage. This is a long time ago now. I would do nightclub cleaning. And that was usually not very pleasant, I have to say. But, you know, it got me a bit of extra money. I got to go out afterwards, you know, like it was from like, I don't know, 7 in the morning till like midday. And then I had some money to spend at the weekend. It was fine.
Yeah. And again, it's also an introduction to the working life. That is a soft introduction. There's, I'm sure you've seen the arguments about this too, where people arrive in the job. They've been studying since till they're 25, and then they finally hit the work market, and they're like, "Holy shit!
Yep,
I have to work this many hours. I don't have any vacations anymore. What's going on? I'm burning out."
Yeah, I have indeed seen that, and it is indeed something that a lot of young people who come from university are not prepared for.
Yeah, they have no proper introduction. Like, they come from an environment where it's like, okay, you know, your dad is paying the bills, show up to class or don't, I don't fucking care. No, I'm paying you now. You're going to need to do your job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's definitely a strong element of that in the culture at the moment.
And also, if you don't want to use children to pick your fruit, well, guess what? We have robots now.
Well, yeah, there's always that as well. We don't even need the children.
Nope. Like, if somehow we cannot mobilize the young people of today to pick our fruit, well, again, there are alternatives. And the robot head does it cheaper, and it doesn't need rest. It'll keep working 24 hours.
I have
no problems.
It's more efficient. It will steal less from you.
It will steal less from you. It's true.
I remember when I was about 15 or something, working in a supermarket and just being shocked that one of my schoolmates who was working at the supermarket as well kept getting away with stealing just sweets from the back of the shop. I was very naive back then.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was like a thing, like the idea of stealing in and of itself was abhorrent. Like, it seemed insane. Like, even the idea of stealing like a candy bar from like the gas station was like, oh my god, you can't do that.
Yep.
And yet now there's TikTok challenges going, no, come on, there's a TikTok challenge. You just got to steal as much as you can and walk out the door and see if anybody stops you.
Well, this again, we lived before the era of mass immigration, mate. We lived in a homogenous Protestant cultures.
Mass immigration, and I will bring up another thing here too. The general spoiling of the population.
Yeah.
This one, I was saving this one for another topic today, but it's brought up naturally now. So this is a woman. She's trying to steal a handbag, and the security guard just isn't letting her. And she is screeching at him. It's like, you have a no-touch policy. I know my rights. My rights to steal.
Your right to steal this. Yeah, no, she's got a good point, Arch. I think we should hear her out.
Exactly. It's like her right to not be touched by the security guard.
Yeah.
Trumps his right, I guess, or duty to prevent her from stealing.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is a culture of the future, I tell you that.
Absolutely.
This is a culture that's going to produce winners.
Heresy is the question. Fire is the answer.
And it gets so ridiculous. I mean, the locked up stores phenomenon that happened as well.
Yeah.
Where they started
California.
putting... Oh, there we go, yeah. They started putting produce in, like, glass boxes that needed to be unlocked by a member of staff so you could get a tub of butter.
Yeah. Don't need to do it with the sunscreen for some reason.
It's...
I'm not the one who's decided that the sunscreen didn't need to be locked up.
I think I saw. Oh god, yeah, this one's beautiful. Where they haven't had the money to get like the fancy anti-steal thing, so they've just chained shut the door.
Jesus.
To guard the frozen little pizza things.
The fucking state of Western civilization, man. Honestly, just we're so pathetic. It's sad.
I love all of these. Like, oh no, the toothpaste. We've got to guard the toothpaste.
Toothpaste isn't exactly expensive either. You know, like if they were stealing expensive things, I'd be like, well, you know, I can understand. But they're not. It's stealing totally mundane items.
Oh, completely. There was even like individual item locks that they were trying to push now, where they'd put individual items in these little glass containers, so you could see them, and then you would like scan them, and they delivered them to you at the end of the shop, basically.
Fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's like we've managed to somehow arrive at the point where the ham needs to be in his own little special cage.
Yeah, it's genuinely embarrassing. Like I'm well in favor of bringing back just draconian punishments at this point.
Like, absolutely. A lot of this started with California. A lot of this nonsense is in California, where they decided to make it a misdemeanor to steal up to like, what was it, $1,000 or something absurd?
$950.
$950. That's a lot of fucking money.
That's a brand new console, isn't it? That's like a PC. That's a huge amount of money.
Yeah, and in groceries, $950. Like, that's got to be an entire cart, surely.
I mean, that's more than a month's worth of food, probably, in California.
Yeah. And again, since it's a misdemeanor, you know, police are never going to investigate it. They've got, you know, murders and rapes and actual thefts to investigate.
Yeah. I mean, they don't get stopped. And the thing is, as well, and this has come over to the UK as well, this attitude of, well, the security staff are just told not to do anything. It's like, well, why do you have security staff then?
Well, again, because they are actually at a greater risk of carrying out a felony than the person walking out of the store with $950 worth of stuff.
Well, not just that, but the person who's stealing could be dangerous. Could be a dangerous lunatic.
That too.
Pulls out a knife and then stabs you.
And again, like, I want to just hammer home how impossible it is to do like that. When the police gets, even just like with security camera footage, there isn't the resources to like, this isn't CSI like you see on the television where they plop it into a computer. It's like, oh, there he is. He lives at X so and so.
Yeah.
The police don't do that. Like, even when the camera footage is there, even when they can identify the guy, even when the store is like, oh yeah, no, his name is this and so on.
Yeah.
What the cops will do is they'll put out a alert so that if this guy gets stopped in a traffic check or something at some point, then they'll go, oh yeah, you stole from Costco like 5 years ago.
Yep. Turns out that is virtually no extra penalty, but it is recorded on your record.
There's a good point there in chat. Retail will be replaced by huge vending machines. Unironically, yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
if we
with
keep
glass
going this
vending
way,
machines.
you're going to go up to a hole in the wall where you're going to enter your order, and like a basket will arrive, like here.
Yep.
Heresy's the question.
I mean,
Fire is the
eventually
answer.
everything will have to be done remotely. You know, all things will be delivered because it'll just be too dangerous to have a shop. It's mad, but okay. Thank you, California. Appreciate the innovation.
It will be too dangerous to have a shop. I love that, because now we're arriving at some real collapse of society level shit.
Yeah, we're arriving at some Heinlein level shit there, aren't we? But this is the world that they've decided. Although saying that, I mean, it's all entirely possible that Trump turns this around. So
I hope so. Like, the only thing he's done so far that I am not super enthused about is the Stargate project.
So I heard about this. What's the actual deal with it? I didn't look into it. I was just like, oh yeah, go beat the Gua'uld up. Brilliant.
So he's putting in $500 billion over 4 years to invest in AI, and the Sam Altman-Fried, was that the name? Or Altman-Fried?
No, Bankman-Fried is the scammer.
Yeah.
Sam Altman, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yep, the OpenAI guy who also scammed Musk out of a fair few $1 million back in the day.
He did, yeah.
He's one of the leaders of this, and it doesn't seem to have much in the way of a concrete goal beyond make AI better.
Okay.
And part of me is like, okay, I mean, I want my AI girlfriend, I guess, but is there nothing better to spend $500 billion on?
Well, I think that Trump's administration is probably looking at it in the terms of, well, if we don't do this, the Chinese certainly will. It would be better for us to have the leading AI technology and not them.
True, but I think China is already so far behind on AI tech that the best they can do is really try to steal America's tech.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily China, but Europe or whoever, So other people. Like America isn't going to be the only place in the world with AI.
I have lost.
Basically, get ahead of it now.
Yeah. Because, of course, the statement stuff is that they want to get this in to help the economy. They want to be the world leader in AI and so on. And there's a lot of theoretical things you can do with this. But it all assumes they actually, manage to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very worried about it, actually. AI will probably just become very normal in the future, I think. And I don't think it'll be I suspect it'll do a lot of mundane stuff. I already use it to do mundane stuff,
Yeah.
So I basically use ChatGPT as an advanced Google search, which is fine. It's good at it's good as an advanced Google search.
Yeah. I'm also a little bit hesitant about the government doing this, because I don't know if I want the government to have access to hyper-sophisticated AI.
Yeah.
I mean, you think your tax code is complicated now?
To be honest with you, right, I think it was Marcus Andreessen, one of those sort of billionaire tech prototypes. He'd said, look, we're actually moving into a new kind of world now, where that's going to look a lot like the old world. For example, the AI and what AI can do in the future is going to just seem like magic to the average person, because the average person will have no idea how it actually works. And so it won't be very dissimilar to, well, essentially believing the world is enchanted. And I think he's probably got a good point there.
Yeah, very potentially. I mean, there again, the ceiling of what is possible with AI is very, very high.
Yeah.
My primary objection is simply just like $500 billion. You're already going to be in a manufacturing race with China. You've already declared China your strategic ally. I would have used those $500 billion to industrialize the US again, bring in robots, start competing, and do that immediately.
Strategic ally or strategic enemy?
Enemy. Excuse me.
Okay, you said ally. Sorry. I agree. I mean, frankly, just cutting off China would be useful and a smart thing to do, but I guess they're not that aggressive on it. But I agree. But I assume that's one of the reasons why they want AI. They think, well, if this is going to be the industrial production of the future, we better be in control of it.
Yep. Trying to get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, America has a long history of that, Cold War, for example. The Russians show off a prototype aircraft and then go like, oh my God, this is going to be like so amazing. It's going to go this fast and be this maneuverable. All bullshit. And America goes, okay, shit. That's scary. We best spend $500 trillion making an aircraft that can actually do that and more.
Yeah, this is why I'm not that worried about it. But I don't know. I mean, it is going to be that a lot of life becomes automated by AI, and honestly, I doubt we're going to be able to stop it. So I'm trying to just relax about it.
Yeah, undoubtedly we are heading in that direction, and again, the potential is so huge for what you could do with this.
Oh yeah. It's actually crazy when you think about it.
Oh, yeah. But until then, we still have to deal with the idiots of today, as this is also loosely connected to Twitter, of course, who has been working on some of this, and Elon's not actually that happy about this, because he famously got screwed over by OpenAI.
Well, yeah. Why would he be happy?
Yep. And I do think this might be a little bit of a poke at him, too, from Trump.
Maybe. I think, I don't know. I have no idea.
As Twitter, too, is in a weird position now. Okay, so from one thing to a complete other thing, which will make sense in a second, I promise. The world's largest brony Discord is banning Twitter links.
Well, it's not just them.
Yep, that's the lead-in. Our Warhammer banning Twitter links.
Well, I mean, lots and lots of basically progressive Reddit sites and Discords, but the company Reddit and the company Discord aren't doing this.
Yeah,
these are community actions that are being taken by very salty losers who can't stand that they lost, and also have decided that no, they don't care about, you know, neurodivergence or anything like that. And actually, Elon Musk is just Hitler. And so, okay, we're going to treat him like Hitler. And it's like, yeah, it's not that he's autistic or anything. It's not that he's obviously fucking autistic.
It's just that he's Hitler.
Yeah, it's literally just, no, he's not autistic, he's Hitler. It's like, oh, really? Okay, interesting.
We are going to build an even larger, more insular bubble, and you cannot stop us.
That's literally where they've got to. It's like, yeah, well, look, I'm going to... I mean, man, on Twitter, on X, so many of them are like, look, see, that's a Nazi. I was just retweeting them. Okay, yeah, go on then. Elon's a mega Nazi. Now what? You're what? You're using his platform? What are you doing? You know, what's going on? What are you going to do? You're going to do nothing. You're going to sit there and go, Elon's a Nazi. It's like, wow, you haven't done that before. Totally. They're basically sat in the cuck chair, and it's just like, well, sorry for your loss.
It's downright unfortunate.
To be honest, it's kind of funny though, like that Elon's essentially gaslighting them into thinking that he's a Nazi. It's like, I don't even, I don't think Elon Musk is a Nazi, right? I think he's just not very self-aware. But like, the fact that what he's done, whether he meant to or not, is essentially give them, from within their own perspective, a good reason to think he's a Nazi, is genuinely funny.
And so instead, all of the leftists are fleeing to Blue Sky, which makes a lot of sense when you come to think of it.
Well, yeah. Blue Sky suddenly had to, worry about child abuse. It's like, oh, what? Why? What's happening? Oh, well, the leftists are coming.
Yep. As there's a lot of accusations flowing around Blue Sky and the sharing of less than upstanding images.
Well, the left has to stand in defense of the map community.
They must. They must. Well, let me do a couple of the Superchats so it's not the Sisyphean task of falling too far behind.
Yeah, we should try and keep up with them as they come in.
Yep. Trevor N. Sargon, congratulations on your new relationship with Arch. May the two of you find happiness together.
Thank you. I expect that we will.
God, don't feed them. The deep lore here is I had Madame Savvy on as a guest on the ArchCast last weekend. And she thought it would be very funny to live on air make up erotic fanfic about the two of us.
Oh dear.
So that's the thing now.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm joining the Christian right and abolishing perversion in games.
I'm warming to the position myself. Phantom Lord DJ07. Sargon is superior to Ruby Ridge supporting communist in Canada.
I don't know anything about Ruby Ridge, so I still haven't looked into it. And I'm not really interested. So I couldn't tell you where I actually stand on it.
Burn Burnson, timely and heterosexual. Thank you. Zonta, I proposed the UK and Norway join the US, Mexico, Canada trade agreement. I'd say drag Iceland in too, but they've applied to the EU, so forget them.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea of the Greenland Purchase?
I think Trump got exactly what he wanted. Exactly.
Oh, yeah?
He came out high and tall, like, I'm going to take over Iceland. It's going to be amazing. We're going to invade you. And the Danes were like, no, you're not. We're protected by the EU. It's like, oh, wait, shit, America is the EU. Is NATO.
Yeah, what we're going to do, use the army.
Yeah. And a few weeks later of the Danish going like, hey, screech. They were like, hey, America, we could cooperate on drilling rights. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Look
shit.
at that. Trump didn't have to do anything, and now suddenly resources secured.
Yep, and he didn't have to take over Iceland either, or Greenland, which costs Denmark, by the way, like $500 million a year to support.
Yep.
So, yeah, Trump got everything he wanted out of that. And as I've said again, like the EU leaders, like, we have a plan for Trump. Yeah, they do. The plan is to bend over and take it.
Yeah, the plan is to lube themselves up. Like, what's your fucking plan, bro? You're gonna do nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I have lost.
Well, look, it's a good plan, and we're gonna do it very effectively. Okay.
Yep. Better lube than no lube.
Exactly. We're prepared.
The Luxon doppelganger punishment should be forced labor. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it depends what the crime is, I suppose.
Well, if they behave well in prison, they can go outside for a bit and do something else than sitting on their ass in a cell. Garhand for 20, thank you. I miss your super chat, Farmer Dev. Crapping on conservative types, Arch. You should come to America with Dev so we can show you the love and endearment you earned by super chat farming. Listen, we do what we must do. And
The hard economy at the moment.
Indeed, and I can brag about this now as well, as the ArchCast is officially the most super chatted channel in all of Norway.
That's very good. Well done.
I know it's a little bit like bragging about being the largest rat in the box, but
I mean, I can't think of any other Norwegian streamers, I have to admit. But
yeah, there you go. Thank you for undermining me right there.
sorry, but well done either way.
I'm happy with it. I'm pleased.
Oh, why wouldn't you be?
Mercenary X21, look up on Google Maps. The DC part of Washington has gone outside of info tabs. Sorry, Arch and Sargon, but some is going on that DC part is legal. What?
I didn't quite catch the meaning of that.
Me neither. I'm getting used to that from Mercenary. Joe Smith, greetings. I found both of you separately back in the day. I follow both of you because you both had great accents and great articulation. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Although mine is fake, his is original.
Well, what does fake even mean when you're speaking a non-native language?
Well, that's a good question, I guess.
Fire is the answer.
What are you talking about? Of course, like, the way I pronounce the words has been artificially trained into me because I had to learn the language. That was such a strange criticism.
TF Allspark, greetings Arch and Sargon. Glad this stream is on regular. I wonder, how do you set out to write a short pulp story? What defines pulp in your opinion? Well, I have no idea.
Yeah, why are you asking us?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I'd ask Razorfist. He knows.
Yeah, I was about to say, ask Razorfist. He definitely knows.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, I barely know what pulp even is myself, so.
Yeah, I don't.
Fire
I've never read or, had any interactions with that sort of fandom or anything.
Yeah, so I suppose
I'm
my
not saying
answer
there's
is
anything wrong or anything like that. I just don't know.
I go to ChatGPT and ask it to write me a short pulp fiction story.
Fire is the answer.
Yeah, ask, or define the category or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, I can't be more help there. Zilux and Doppelganger. The only hope for the UK is to depose the government, take direct action against the migrants, I presume, and make life impossible or create no-go zones.
Well, I mean, I'm living in the UK, so I can't comment on any of that.
Listen, Trump has
Heresy's
demonstrated
the
that there is still
Fire is the answer.
democratic ways to deal with this.
Oh, everything can be dealt with democratically and politically. It's just about will.
Yep.
And everyone knows this, really.
Mercenary X21. Anything upper middle class or below is the slave class.
Yeah, according to there's just this amazing clip of BBC Question Time where in the UK it's like the largest political program on TV, and they're talking about immigration, and someone's like, look, we just have to reduce it, everyone wants it reduced, and this posh woman from the front goes, yes, well, who will pour our coffee at Pret? And Pret being quite an upper middle class sort of coffee chain, and the answer is of course teenagers will do that. But she couldn't even fathom the idea of not having, third world immigrants do it. It's like, do you need these people for your personal sense of status or something?
I remember that clip. And again,
Ignorant slut.
it's because that is like the argument they've been traded into, like, oh, the economy.
Yeah.
And the problem is it makes them sound really, really terrible.
Yeah, but it's as if British people don't work. It's like, what, do you think we're sat around all day on our plantations or something? Are you mental?
Yeah.
Like, we need jobs.
Not to mention as well, here's the problem. It isn't that even Americans are like, oh, well, we would never pick fruit. No. If you're hungry, you will pick fruit.
The question.
Yeah,
Fire
if
is
the deal's
answer.
good, you'll do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, about prices, about wages. For so long now, we have been artificially bringing down prices by essentially creating a serf population, which we bring into our countries and just like, okay, here you are. This is your place to live now. You don't know the language or anything, but good luck.
Well, and that's part of the way that they keep these people exploited, actually. But what's interesting is there's nothing ignoble about picking fruit. I used to live in Newquay, which is a rural area in Britain, in Cornwall. And so I did fruit picking, a couple of summers. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't pay brilliantly, that's all. And so it's like, okay, well, I mean, I was like 16, 17, something like that. I can't remember. But, there's nothing wrong with the job. You didn't go home feeling ashamed of yourself or something.
Like, really, the only thing we need to do to solve this problem is to, well, do what the economy always does. Okay, there aren't any more foreign fruit pickers. Right, well, raise the prices to the point where teenagers will do it again.
Shit.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, but that means my fruit will cost more in the shops. Like, yeah, it will. Yeah, that's true. It will.
Oh no, the price will increase due to proper economic reasons instead of, everything else. The coup, the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. That's how economies function. Correct. Good spot.
The Wolf Marshal for 10, thank you. Hey Art and Carl, what do, I'm presuming, guys think of its game like Total War or StarCraft mixed with an RPG like Baldur's Gate or Rogue Trader?
Well, I suppose it'd be depending on how it functions, right?
Yeah, an
I
RPG.
need a bit more. I need a bit more
lost.
information about how you plan to marry these two things.
It reminds me, there was an old game. What the hell is its name? Where you played an RPG game and a real-time strategy game. Spellcraft or something? Spellforce. Spellforce?
No idea. I've never heard of it, but I'm not against the idea in principle. Sounds fine.
Yeah, there it is. Spellforce. It was kind of cool. It was a fun little game, honestly. The biggest problem was that the two things didn't really blend particularly well together, and so you usually ended up with basically one half of the map being the RPG section where you moved around with your little party of dudes, and the other being the strategy game section, because, 12 bandits might be a severe challenge to you and your 5 friends, but not so much to half a dozen handgunners.
Right. But again, I suppose it depends how well these things are handled, doesn't it?
That's all things
find
do.
a way. Yeah, exactly. If you can find a way of integrating them, it sounds like a perfectly reasonable idea to me.
Mr. Personality for 5. Picking food is $1 to $2.50 per flat of fruit and veggies, depending on their legal status. Might be less. Unity, Children of the Cathedral. Okay. Oh, right, fund. Yeah, it's not particularly well paid, but again, we just need to increase the pay until, well, the kids are willing to do it again. And that's how we replace the immigrants.
Yeah.
Weird. Sargon, do you allow sacrificing magic components to fuel cantrips, like sacrificing a stained glass for a prestidigation with intent to clean?
What, in a game of D&D?
Presumably.
I don't know. I don't tend to use the whatever the resources are called. I can't remember what they're called now.
Reagents.
Reagents, that's right. Just because it's often just too much hassle to keep track of.
It is a lot of hassle. And weird, True Strike is overpowered outside of combat. Arch gain advantage to attack status with magical paintbrush with magical paint.
I feel like this is getting away from me here.
Yeah, no, same. Dardnigo for 50 dongs, I think. Hello, Sargon. Hope you guys have a nice day. Any progress on you guys' tabletop game yet? Update on Brit farmer tax situation. Well, honestly, our tabletop is doing excellently, but, you know, on the down low still.
Yep, but no update on the farmers, I'm afraid. Oh, well, no, actually, there is kind of. Most of the major supermarkets in Britain have come out for the farmers at this point. I think it's only Sainsbury's that hasn't. But like Lidl, Asda, Morrison's, Waitrose, they've all come out for the farmers, which is superb, obviously.
And Diego Flores for 10 Filipino or something? That is a 1 month of rent or 2.5 months of food in Peru.
Jesus.
Yeah, like there you go. Yeah, no. $900. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
There we go. That's about half of them. Okay, we're not falling too far behind this time. Right. Before we waste too much time on the short bits, I wanted to watch this video today because I found this one deeply fascinating. It was one of the ones suggested by all of you guys too.
Let's go.
The Federation, it's the same picture of Star Wars and Star Trek. That sounds intriguing. I'll put it at 125.
For decades, Star Trek has portrayed what is generally considered to be a positive vision of humanity's future. A future where we've overcome our petty differences, brought an end to hunger and poverty. A future where we go forth to explore the galaxy in partnership with other similarly enlightened civilizations. It's a future many aspire to. The United Federation of Planets is a future many of us would like to live in. Starship Troopers, Robert Heinlein's book, and especially Paul Verhoeven's film, is usually held up as either a spoof of militaristic authoritarian systems or as a failed attempt that ends up glorifying broadly defined fascism.
And that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because that is true. That is exactly how people see it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Star Trek is viewed as, like, the most optimistic, the most idealized, like, utopian future out there. And Starship Troopers is usually the exact opposite.
Well, I can guess what the guy's argument, or at least what he's saying in this is, and he is basically correct. People always say, "Oh, well, Star Trek's the communist future," and that's not correct. Star Trek is an intrinsically liberal future. There are hierarchies. There's property ownership. There are various sort of concessions to human nature, right? Whereas, of course, communism doesn't agree with any hierarchy at all. The very nature of hierarchy in communism is a form of oppression. And actually, people should essentially live apart and be utterly at their liberty to do anything they want at all times. That's not what was shown in Star Trek. What was shown in Star Trek is post-scarcity liberalism. So you still have, especially in the Federation itself, it's a very bureaucratic, hierarchical, procedural organization. There is a lot of what a Marxist would call oppression in it, to be honest. People go to jail. People are punished. People are held to account. There is a structure in which to be held to account. None of that would exist in communism. Communism, theoretically anyway, there would be no state, there would be no police force, there'd be no courts of justice because it'd be basically impossible to commit a crime. there'd be nothing. And liberalism doesn't hold that, at least not in its realistic forms. And so the difference between, and Heinlein, of course, was laying out the kind of hardline libertarian future, which is just a sort of another form of liberalism. And so the real difference between Star Trek and Starship Troopers is the same as the difference between Hobbes and Rousseau, right? So, or Hobbes and Locke, probably. Locke had an idealistic side and a realistic side. He was like, look, basically every man will have his own little plot of land and he'll work it, and then, everyone will get along. But there are bad people in the world, and therefore we will need a state, we will need courts. But if someone breaks into your house, you're free to just shoot them, of course, because it's your property and they've broken the rules, so you don't know how far they're prepared to go with this. And Heinlein has got a much more Hobbesian view, where he's like, no, mankind is basically lazy, selfish, indolent, and the galaxy is going to be full of terrors. So we need to have a very strong state in which only people who have proven responsibility can be trusted to wield any kind of power and hold themselves to account, and the rest will be totally disenfranchised. And so you've got the attitude. It's like one's a kind of optimistic view of human nature and what the universe might be like, and the other's a pessimistic view of human nature and what the universe might be like. But they both basically agree on everything else.
Yep. And one of the big things as well that people often overlook when they claim that Star Trek is communist in some way is that Starfleet itself is, of course, extremely exclusionary.
Oh, yes.
Only the best of the best get into Starfleet.
Oh, yes. Which is very much like the soldiers of the Terran Federation.
Yep. The mobile infantry. Only the best get in.
Yeah,
Very few people point.
Sorry, just a quick thing there. Being exclusionary is exactly the distinction, actually, that we should be highlighting here. It's the thing that makes them so different to communism. But sorry, carry on.
To the United Citizen Federation and say, I want to live there. And yet, they're the same picture. Well, almost. They're both 20th century American visions of the triumph of the 20th century American political system. And I say this as a blanket statement because the differences between these two federations are surprisingly minor and both follow in a clear line from some peculiarities of American history.
Now, I disagree slightly with the American history part of this. Because he's going to pivot that into like the exploratory spirit, and I think that is part of it, but I think the exploratory spirit is just a human thing rather than a American thing, honestly.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's a Northwest European thing. You get lots of Scandinavians and, Spaniards and all that doing it. But the Chinese, for example, the Indians, not really interested in it. They were just not interested. The Africans never sent a ship anywhere. The Ottomans didn't very much. The Muslims did a bit, but mostly it seems to just be this, the Faustian spirit is a European one.
United States of America is a federation. At least we were. Structurally, we still are, even though in practice that's been quadruple bypassed in many janky ways, and most Americans don't think of themselves as living in a federation. So, quick history lesson for those that slept through Mr. Dubois' civics class. After gaining independence from the British, the 13 American colonies, which were independent states, hence why we call them states and not provinces or something else, formed a confederation. The rules governing it, the Articles of Confederation, made some suggestions about what the member states should do, but there wasn't really any mechanism to make it happen, making things like national defense and interstate infrastructure projects exceedingly difficult. So some aristocratic folks got together and called a convention to amend the Articles. Instead, they wrote a whole new constitution, this time a more centralized federation. It created a federal government with certain clearly enumerated powers, and the states decided that the benefits outweighed the hassle and signed on.
See, that is also where I kind of like the idea of him comparing this to America, because that really is the argument for a more centralized federation, isn't it? Convenience.
Yeah, often defense as well.
Yeah.
But he's correct basically about all this. He's summarizing obviously in broad strokes, but he's correct about all this.
After much haggling. This is why we have both a House of Representatives and a Senate, why we have the Electoral College, why state and local police can tell the feds to pound sand, on and on. We're not a country institutionally, we're a federation. Turning to these fictional projections from this basic federation framework, we see remarkable similarities between the two. Both Starship Troopers and Star Trek are distantly post-apocalyptic. The collapse event in Starship Troopers was social disintegration brought on by woolly thinking and weak hearts.
And God help me.
Very based. Yeah. Very based, yeah.
We just talked about that previously, how we're locking up our ham now so it won't get stolen.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can see the Hobbesian nature of it in Heinlein as well. So what's it going to be like? Well, people will be fucking weak and pathetic. You know, they'll suffer and people will look to the military.
Yep.
And that was the soft spot which destroyed what was in many ways an admirable culture. The junior hoodlums who roamed the streets were symptoms of a greater sickness. Their citizens, all of them counted as such, glorified their mythology of rights and lost track of their duties. No nation so constituted can endure.
And my
Precisely,
God.
Yeah.
It's like, did I manage to close the one with the woman? I think I did. The woman trying to push past the security guard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Heinlein was a Democrat before he became like a Republican. As many Democrats realized, oh wait, this isn't just about sunshine and roses at all. This is about making sure that criminals don't get punished. It's like, yeah, it is, isn't it? Is that what you signed up for? No, actually, I totally oppose this. In fact, I'm going to spend my life writing things that are completely against the future that they're asking for.
Yeah, and again, the fetishization of rights, which they chant like a holy mantra without even knowing what a right is. Like this woman, my right to steal.
Well, the right to an abortion is probably the most abhorrent one. It's like, what do you mean? Your right to murder? Well, how could that be what? You know, that's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, once you make something a right, once you call it a right, you imbue it with this automatic value, this gravitas that we all like react to very reverently.
Yep.
And so that has been turned into a weapon.
Yep.
I mean, even the earlier portions of this clip here, as it'll loop in a second, the security guard is standing there and he's very, very carefully tucking his hands behind his back. You know, he's making sure he doesn't touch her, that he doesn't inconvenience her, because he knows damn fucking well what happens if he lays a hand on her.
This could go viral. He knows he could be in trouble. He's probably in California or something. You know, like, he knows. And the thing is, as well, one of the things about rights that we never talk about is that all rights are fundamentally in conflict, right? All rights conflict with other rights, as laid out by liberalism. So, like, you know, we can sit there expounding a doctrine of universal human rights, but if all of these universal human rights eventually come into conflict with other human rights, well, they're not as universal as we're making them out to be, are they? You know, this is actually a doctrine that needs more thought.
Fire is the answer.
And when they come into conflict, then we just turn to the hierarchy of our society. Like in this case, it is the security guard's right, quote unquote, and duty to stop the woman from stealing his employer's shit. But he's a man, and if I may be so bold, a big black man too, and being pushed by a small white woman. He probably understands the position he's in, so he's being very, very careful and very, very correct. He's acting very appropriately, like he does literally nothing wrong in this encounter whatsoever.
Well, he realizes that he's stepping on the sort of boundaries of the magic spell here. You know, like, if, you know, this isn't real. If it was real, he would just beat her up or something. He'd be able to push her over, obviously. He's far bigger, far stronger. But this isn't real. There's something magical happening. Oh, there's an invocation here. She's invoked the magic word. Right. Oh, okay. Well, better make sure that you know, I don't offend the gods or something. Essentially.
Yep, I gotta dot my I's and cross my T's here because this could go very, very wrong very quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure the sacrifice is performed with precise incantations.
There's even a part here where she begins reaching back and she's pretending to grab something. And in the video, she's shouting that she's going to mace him. And like, she doesn't even have a can of mace on her, but like the very idea that is a legitimate threat. Like, okay, you're doing nothing wrong. You're preventing me from stealing.
You're doing your job, and I'm a criminal.
Yeah, and I'm going to mace you in self-defense. Like, what the
Yeah, what are you talking about, woman?
It is such a thoroughly absurd scenario on every level. And again, like, that is pretty much spot on what Heinlein was talking about. Like, it sounds so crazy. The junior hoodlums roaming the streets. Yeah.
Yep. It's similar to the sort of view of Clockwork Orange, isn't it? Obviously, she's not being ultra-violent or something, but like the very idea that the socializing of the youth will fail so completely that they will not see the difference between right and wrong and feel that they personally are entitled to commit crime and to
A once
violate
peaceful
other people's rights.
And
we've arrived at that
Service
point.
guarantees citizenship.
This has gone even further. This has been a big story in Sweden and Norway for a while now, as criminal gangs have started recruiting children to carry out hits on people, contract killings.
Jesus Christ.
And the reason why they're doing this is because Sweden and Norway, and I think Denmark too, we were so coddled, so happy that we are not allowed to criminally prosecute a child. You can't.
Well, yeah, same.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you can't. No, he's a child. He's not guilty of this. Like, he can't be held responsible. And that was fine. That was not a problem. And then foreign elements begin moving in with a very different value structure and sees, hold on, you can't punish a child no matter what he does? Like, yeah.
You can give that child a gun.
Exactly. And the entirety of Norwegian and Swedish society is just stunned by this. Just looking at, but you can't do that. We can't even articulate our objections to it because we know what's happening, but we can't say it. And it's so foreign to our framework of how the world should be that we're just kind of shell-shocked by it.
Yeah. And it's difficult as well because what we're used to is essentially mollycoddling our own children, right? And, fair enough. There's a fair argument for it. But it turns out that actually a 15-year-old knows right from wrong. They know not to kill someone. And so when they kill someone, they're actually kind of culpable.
Yeah. And again, these laws weren't put into place to deal with murder. It was like if a child does something dumb or is exploited by somebody, then we go for the person exploiting them. In these weird circumstances where somebody trains a child to pickpocket. Like, that's what we were thinking.
Yes.
Not
back
murder.
in the good old days when you were innocent and naive.
Exactly.
You didn't realize how bad the world could be.
We make these rules thinking like, oh God, like what if we catch a child stealing an apple? We can't throw him in jail. That'd be horrible. 20 years later, they're killing people on the streets. Like, shit.
Yeah, that would be terrible if you threw those people in jail.
Yep.
After which, veterans took over and imposed a fair but harsh system of law with a foundation in duty and service. In Star Trek,
Based indeed.
the cataclysmic
harsh.
Duty, service, harsh.
Yeah.
event was a global war. The details and timeline aren't consistent because we have over half a century of Trek stories, but the broad strokes are a war, a period of mass disorder, and somewhere in there humanity came together and went to the stars. First Contact jinx with things established in the original series and Next Gen, so I'm not going to treat it as absolutely definitive. Trek lore is pretty incoherent when you start picking it apart. But in both cases, humanity climbed up out of the ruin, and under the leadership of people more rational and forward-thinking than those that brought on the collapse, mankind built a prosperous civilization on a foundation of duty and self-betterment.
Again, yeah, largely correct. I mean, we had a lot more help in Star Trek, because, all the other planets were like, hey, here's stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't the Vulcans give us the hyperdrive or something?
I don't remember.
It's been a long time since I've watched Star Trek, to be honest, but
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Vulcans were involved.
I know there was like a whole plot line about how we met the aliens, and the aliens were like, oh yeah, no, you've reached the magical boundary now, we can talk to you and stuff.
Yeah, something like that. But the point being is that, yeah, he is right. They're basically the same story, and it basically is the same liberal future. It's just one is more optimistic than the other. And like, notice in Heinlein's future, what's happened? Well, we're at war with all the aliens. Obviously, we're at war with all the aliens. Obviously, in the Hobbesian, Heinleinian future, yeah, we're at war with them. Obviously, the skinnies, the arachnids, any others we meet,
The main optimistic differential is that in Heinlein's story, humanity pulls itself up by its own bootstraps, solely and singularly by its own ingenuity. Whereas in Star Trek, we reach out into space, and there's actually somebody there who doesn't just slap our hand away. And we're like, oh, hey.
Yeah, who doesn't just want to eat us.
Yeah, oh, look, the galaxy's huge. We got all these cool people out here. Most of them are relatively friendly.
Oh, thank God. And Heinlein's just like, yeah, bollocks. Heinlein's preparing us for the 40K future, frankly.
Yep. Heinlein is looking at human history and going like, when less civilized people meet more civilized people.
Yeah, I'm sure the aliens are going to be just hunky-dory, just dandy. That'd be lovely.
In Starship Troopers, it's the basis for legal citizenship.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Serving the greater society not only establishes the moral basis for citizenship, but the hard discipline of military life tempers the individual's outlook and makes citizens less likely to propose or vote for goofy, harebrained nonsense.
Based.
I love that point too, though.
Yeah, me too.
It's again, Heinlein also makes it clear that, the citizen is not more intelligent than the civilian. In fact, in many cases, the opposite are true.
That is precisely one of the quotes I had you read from my video.
Yes.
In fact.
But the fact that you have spent time in the military, that you have built bonds, that you have grown up within a system and a hierarchical structure gives you a different outlook on life beyond, I need to have this handbag and it's my right to have it.
That you have sacrificed. That's what it is. That you've sacrificed, you've suffered, you've given up something. And so you understand what it is not to have everything your own way all the time.
Yeah. And also just to hammer that expectation out of you, because that is an expectation that a lot of us have when growing up, and naturally so. When you are a child, you expect your parents to provide you food, lodging, shelter, all of these things, schooling, upbringing. You are dependent. And becoming an adult is realizing that you can no longer be dependent.
Correct.
Like Marxism. In Star Trek, it's more cultural than systemic, perhaps best illustrated by...
We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
I'm not going to get into the supposed lack of money and what that actually means in practice here. The operative point is that they didn't join Starfleet for the college money or an enlistment bonus. It doesn't matter that Trek doesn't do the whole citizenship through service thing. It's about a cultural compulsion to be better, to be significant to their society. The same is true in Starship Troopers. No offense, but military service is for ants. Believe me, I see them go, I see them come back. When they do come back. I see what it's done to them. And for what? A purely nominal political privilege that pays not one centavo and that most of them aren't competent to use wisely anyhow.
I like this comparison too here, because in Starship Troopers, it is partially about political power, because there's a lot of people probably who want to vote or who want to better the world, etc., or are idealistic about it when they sign up. In the movies, they also mentioned special privileges, like easier to get, like the privilege to give birth, but that's a bit more like woolly because it's the movie.
Yeah.
But it's clearly a want to do better, to affect greater things, to become something more than the atomized individual. Mm-hmm. And Starfleet is the same. Again, Starfleet is a very exclusionary organization. Only the top cream of the crop get into Starfleet and get to work on spaceships and, lead men in the great vast beyond.
And also, both societies are essentially post-scarcity as well. There's no particular motivation to do so. Like if you got on a 17th century sailing ship and were like, right, I'm going to the New World. Well, you're probably doing it because you're poor, right? Or because you're, religiously persecuted or something like this, right? You've got like a real pragmatic reason to go. But in both Star Trek and Starship Troopers, you don't have that. You've got all of the freedoms and liberty you'll ever need. You've probably got all the wealth you'll ever need. You're doing it for some other reason.
Mm-hmm. Not joining Starfleet is not going to affect your life of relative luxury and happiness.
No.
But it
The
is
same
going
in-
to give you spiritual satisfaction, something greater.
Exactly. It's the same in Starship Troopers as well. I mean, like, you know, you go to Zegama Beach, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Join
In
Harvard.
both cases, we see a prosperous and comfortable society. There's no shame in not answering the call to serve. One can live comfortably by ignoring that call. But both cultures exert a push for their young people to look at the peace and prosperity around them, to understand that they can stay in the garden for their entire lives, but that real growth comes from stepping out of it.
Oh, that's another point, good point too, because, I mean, that's the lesson, isn't it? Okay, you are living in paradise. Who built that paradise, and how can it be maintained? That is a question we do not ask enough today.
Oh, God, yeah. Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine one of our modern politicians being like, okay, well, now you have a duty, you have obligations. Do you not think that, like, these things are important? It's like, no, what we need to do now is try and defend the criminals. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. I'm so sick of defending criminals. I hate the criminals.
They're called to become something better. And in both cases, it often manifests through service in a military capacity. Of course, one could argue that Starfleet isn't military. Its primary mission is exploration. Fair point.
Starfleet's definitely a military.
Yeah, Starfleet is definitely a military.
What? No.
I get the argument, like, oh, they're exploring and stuff. Yeah, they're exploring in
Yeah.
warships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're the Earth's only means of defense.
Not to mention, again, like, now, granted, there are, like, more war-y classes of ships within the Federation. Like, there's proper, warships. But even just, like, the Enterprise, Discovery, they're heavily fucking armed. They could obliterate entire civilizations when they run into them.
Yeah, you could wax a planet with the Enterprise.
Yeah, like, do not for a second pretend that that's this my coinky dinky winky. No, you put those torpedoes on it for a reason.
Yeah, we got a lot of phasers and photon torpedoes. I'm sure this is just, just for science work.
Yeah, science
The thing
work.
is, they have specific science ships as well. We know that these are warships.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm in favor of us having warships. Us, the human race. We should have warships.
Yeah. And again, it makes sense. You're going out into the unknown. Okay. Well, the other unknown might not be as friendly as you were to your unknown. But again, they are definitely warships. They're definitely military.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, it's called the Naval Academy, isn't it?
I think so.
In Star Trek. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called the Naval Academy. Like, the Picard ends up, like, getting stabbed in or whatever. And it's like, it's definitely military, which is fine. It's not a moral fault that we have a military in the future.
Yeah.
But it is a mission. They have uniforms and ranks denoting a hierarchy of command. They frequently exchange fire with ships from other planets. Starfleet is a space navy.
They're literally
course.
run by an admiral.
Yeah.
Heresy's the
Again,
question.
like they could
Fire
they
is
they
the
could just
answer.
send out scouting vessels. They could just send out probes. They could do a million other things, but they chose to send the ship with phasers, shields, and proton torpedoes.
Yeah, but again, he's right. They're literally run by a fucking admiral. They are literally a navy in space, and that's fine.
It's a strange sort of space navy. Trek focuses almost entirely on officers, so we don't really know much about Starfleet enlisted crew, if such a thing even exists.
That's why I stayed an enlisted man.
At station, Lieutenant.
Isaac.
But these officers do sometimes have their families living aboard ship. Previously, I've argued that this suggests a significant level of militarism in Federation life, because it implies that the military-like environment of a starship is not unusual enough for the presence of children to seem odd in that society.
Based.
Yeah, and that too. Like, that is definitely a suggestive of a militarized society. Because if you can live on a warship, then sure, it's probably going to be relatively comfortable because it's post-guest society, etc. And, like, these aren't Soviet submarines from the Cold War or anything. But bringing your family into a situation where it is not at all unusual for angry aliens to try and blast you...
Heresy's the question. Fire is the answer.
That requires a certain mindset on behalf of not only the enlisted man, but the family as well.
Yep, and they do have their children on board.
Mm-hmm.
What's Wesley Crusher doing, eh?
But we could also make a case that it's harkening back to the frontier. We're a frontier people deep down, explorers and colonizers. It wasn't just self-sufficient Daniel Boones trotting out into the frontier, flintlock in one hand and hatchet in the other, off to build a nation. Families settled the frontier, women and children out there braving the elements, and Indian attacks. And had they been out there on their own, they'd have been slaughtered. Settlement of the frontier was made possible by the U.S. military providing security and doing some damn distasteful things. It's exceedingly difficult to colonize an already occupied space without organized military force. It was true for America's continent-spanning federation, and it holds true for interstellar federations as well. Star Trek's federations...
Totally correct.
Yep. And we know that the Federation is also colonizing planets, quite a few of them too.
Yeah, because it comes up in the bloody series.
Yep. Now, presumably, they do it less, how shall I say, determinantly than the US did? with less
Presumably. Yeah, presumably, but again, I'm not going to judge the Federation on this.
No.
I'm a human
Seems to do
supremacist.
without wiping out competing populations, but it still became a hegemonic power with substantial military capacity and readiness.
And that's, I think, now I am not a Trekkie lore expert, but I'm pretty sure the Human Federation has like one of the largest navies within the Federation.
I wouldn't know. I assume it does, considering the humans seem to be in charge of it, though.
Or at the very least, they have a significant amount of military power, which, again, suggests that even behind all of that that blue-eyed optimism, they are very much so aware that there's some shit out there.
Yeah, they're very steely-eyed realists when it comes to production, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, we're going to produce 5 million billion tons of Starship this year. You know, why? Well, I mean, Borg, you know.
Yep. And we're going to arm all of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be all armed, obviously, blah, blah, blah. Why? Well, Borg. Romulans. Like Klingons, possibly.
Yep.
And these two things, militarism and exploration, are linked. Even today, military recruiting relies heavily on the call to adventure and self-betterment. See the world, be all you can be. There is, of course, a striking difference here. Starfleet is depicted as being quite selective. The entrance exam for the Academy is rigorous and the standards are high, whereas that other Federation literally takes anyone that volunteers, even if they have to find some bizarre task for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there also is the right, though, because there's a step further here. Like, on the one hand, nobody can deny you your right to attempt to become a citizen. Was in the book, only if the psychiatrist deems that you cannot understand the oath, basically.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that they won't do their damnedest to weed you out.
And also, you don't get to join the mobile infantry.
Yes. So that's the difference. Like, Starfleet, they're actually very similar, again, because Starfleet will wean you out if you aren't good enough, and the Federation will do the same thing. It's just that well, no, actually, they're the same thing, because you've got the same right to apply to both, but then you actually have to, get through them.
Yeah. So Starfleet is very, very similar, and it's because it comes from the same philosophy.
Yeah.
It's just, literally, the difference is aesthetic. It's just aesthetic.
Yeah, and the process, I guess. Like, Starfleet, you get to take your oath at the end. With the Federation, you take your oath first, and then they see if you can hack it.
Yeah. That's fair.
Where Star Trek shows us an idealized utopian version of the volunteer military America has had since the end of the Vietnam War, and meritocratic society in general, Starship Trooper shows us something much more interesting. A lot of people have strong objections to conscription. I despise it. The idea that government can grab you and say, you work for us now, and dictate what you'll do, where you'll live, and maybe when you'll die, and your own plans for your own life be damned is ridiculous and evil to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no one likes conscription.
Yep.
Like, duh. I mean, I don't mean duh, but you know what I mean. It's like, yeah, everyone despises conscription, yeah.
But the other side is that after decades of an all-volunteer military, we can see that it creates its own set of problems.
Oh yeah, go on.
Less than 10% of Americans have served in the military, and it tends to run in families. There's a divide between the military and the rest of society. When the country gets into a war, a small percentage of the population bears the weight of it. For the other 90%, the war is someone else's problem. This fuels interventionist policy because people making decisions, whether elected officials or the people that vote for them, don't really understand war and don't have any real stake in it.
That's a fine point, isn't it?
Very good point. You know what? This is why the Roman Republic had quite a good system. Where, again, it's very similar. To become a senator, you had to have served in the military, and so it's like, well, you know, if you want to have any involvement in politics, really, get punching that clock. You know, get on the front lines. Otherwise, you don't get it.
Yep. You don't want the US to take part in every war it can get its hands on? Well, send the senators to the front line.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure they've served in the bloody army.
Starship Trooper shows us a model that addresses some of that, sort of splitting the difference between conscription and volunteer militaries. No one has to go, and declining to serve carries no stigma or penalty. You can own property, start a business, exercise your right to complain about the government, but to have a direct voice in policy, you have to demonstrate a willingness to put yourself on the line for it. I'm not suggesting we adopt this idea, but it does give us some things to ponder.
I'm suggesting. I think that would be a brilliant idea. I'm open to counter arguments, but I think I've heard them all.
Yep. Service does guarantee citizenship.
Because if we look at the world depicted in Starship Troopers and compare it to Star Trek, both depict a prosperous, united world exploring the galaxy, an optimistic mankind looking forward toward a grand future. But Star Trek demands that we become better than we are, more rational, more compassionate, more communal. It's a vision of the future that, like the utopian ideologies of our own time, requires that we become a different people.
Ah, yes.
Well, hang on a sec. That's not an entirely fair representation of Heinlein. Because do you not remember in the book, Rico complaining about the amount of studying he has to do?
Yeah, philosophy, all that sort of stuff.
Mathematics, literature, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's not that wasn't present in Starship Troopers.
And that was also, I think, was it during his officer training?
Yeah.
Because that was the thing too. The mobile infantry didn't merely just train officers; it trained gentlemen.
Yes.
Which is why when he's taken to the banquet hall whilst they're on transit aboard the Roger Young, all of the commanders gather together. They have a formal dinner, very much so in the tradition of old naval crews.
Yep. Which is incredibly based.
Yep. It is creating a special class. And when I say class there, I don't necessarily mean class as in a hierarchical one. I mean as in having class. Because this is something that is all too often also forgotten in modern society.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Like, the character of the men.
Yes. Yeah, like the character. Like, what was that joke during the last British royal wedding or something, where there was they compared the oh god, what's her name?
Meghan Markle?
Yes. To Prince Harry's wife? I don't remember these British people.
Well, Prince Harry is married to Meghan Markle, but Prince William's wife is Kate.
William.
Someone or other.
Yes, because they were comparing Kate to Meghan Markle, and they're like, you can't buy class.
Yeah.
And
and that's true. You have to live it.
Yeah, you do. And you can see how Meghan has behaved thereafter, antagonistic towards the royal family and trying to piss in their supper at every opportunity.
Yes, indeed. That's why everyone in Britain basically hates her.
Yeah. Because this is like the spell of the monarchy, right?
Yeah.
The deep down, we understand that the royals are no different from us. They're human beings like us. They get hungry, they shit, they pee, they get sick. However, it is their duty as the royal family to present something greater. They are an ideal, something aspirational, something magical, almost.
Yep. Nice.
And by doing so, they can become a unifying symbol for a nation. They can become an image of that nation, a glorious portrait of it.
That is precisely correct. They actually have essentially a kind of moral obligation to embody the virtues of the nation.
Yes. And in return for the incredible luxury and privilege that they enjoy, their lives of luxury and great food and trapped chips and all of this and living in palaces, we expect them to live up to those expectations. This is why, no, you can't just marry whoever you want. It's why you can't just be a private person and do whatever you want. You have an obligation. And if you didn't ask for that, well, that sucks, but... deal with it.
Well, you can always do like Harry and just abdicate, essentially. And things, you know what's interesting? I remember being a teenager, probably like 17, 18, 19, something like that, when Diana died. And I remember it was all over TV. I'd never really paid attention to the monarchy before. But it became very apparent to me that these are not free people, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are people who are very, very much trapped within a system that they don't get to choose their own destinies. So they are living in luxury, obviously, but it's a gilded cage. And I remember then thinking, God, I'm glad that's not me. You know, I'm glad I mean, okay, I don't come from luxury, but like, I'm free, you know, in a way that these guys aren't. And I was about 17, 18. I was like, geez, I really appreciate that, actually.
Yeah. And when you stop enforcing those standards, you get what happened in Norway not that long ago, where our ex-princess, she has technically abdicated, though she still used the title, goddamn her, married, and I shit you not, an African shaman.
What?
Yep.
I didn't even hear about this.
Legitimately, he is a shaman. He sells shamanistic healing magic and shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm open to it, frankly. I think we need a bit more shamanism in our lives.
And it's just like, oh God. I get the freedom argument, like, do whatever you want, but God, it's such a kick in the nuts to the idea of the royal family.
Yeah, it is.
There is that sense of something being degraded.
Yeah. Well, again, that's why Harry and Meghan Markle were such a disappointment, really. But he shouldn't have married an American.
Yeah. Well, again,
frankly.
Culture and class are often also connected. You could very much tell she was an American. She came in there expecting that, no, not only should she be able to critique the royal family, she should be applauded for doing so.
Yeah. Yeah. A woke leftist American as well. Well, I don't doubt he could have found an American woman who was kind of traditional. But there are loads of American women who fucking love the British royal family. And there's an industry of following royal family news because they look at it in a very romantic way because they don't have anything like that, which is nice. You know, it's nice. It's kind of cute. And Harry, if he'd found a woman slightly like in that way inclined, then maybe things would have been different. But he didn't. He got one who was obviously kind of resentful and kind of didn't like the royal family. So, okay, good job, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
In contrast, Starship Troopers takes us as we really are. It explicitly acknowledges that its citizens aren't smarter, nobler, or more informed than anyone else, only that they live in a system that bestows political power only on those who have demonstrated an ability to plan for the future, to endure hardships today for benefits later. In the text, it's explained this way. Under our system, every voter and office holder is a man who has demonstrated through voluntary and difficult service that he places the welfare of the group ahead of personal advantage. But that's not really it. People sign up for their own reasons, not out of some high ideal of sacrifice for the general welfare or the edification of society, but for something they want out of it, whether it's a material benefit, such as needing to be a citizen for their desired career path, or something less tangible, like wanting to have achieved it for their own self-image. The secondary effect, the societal level effect, is to weed out those who have no sense of consequences, those who think you can get something for nothing from the societal level decision-making process. The Terran Federation does...
It's just so bad. Heinlein is just so on the money, man.
Yep. And again, there's the thing too. It doesn't matter the reasons you decided to join up for service.
No.
It is the effect the service has on you that matters.
Yeah. And on society at large by proxy.
Yeah. By building God, this is the argument that democracy has made all these years, to build a better voter. And we're like, oh, how do we do this? Well, responsibility might be a good place to start.
Yeah. choose only those people who actually consider duty important,
Mm-hmm.
as Heinlein is basically suggesting here. And actually, you probably will end up with a better system. It'll be a less soft and malleable system. It'll be a system that is far less inclined to to support losers and parasites. Again, no drawbacks, frankly.
No drawbacks.
Doesn't require us to evolve into better humans or to drastically revamp the priorities of our culture. It just gives us a choice and lets us decide what our own priorities in life are. But it structurally limits the short-sighted and irresponsible to only setting the course of their own lives without dragging everyone else into unworkable nightmares based on wishful thinking.
God, fucking preach.
Yeah, you couldn't no better advertisement.
I gotta love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Never
as
sold it to me any harder.
Yep.
It's a more achievable future than the visions presented in other utopian sci-fi or the grand top-down social ideologies of our own world. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, it's not fascist.
Good point.
Yep.
I'm liking this guy. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm liking this.
I'm liking it too, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a nice little bit at the end there too, you know. Being young is liking Star Trek. Growing up is realizing that the Terran Federation is superior.
Oh, by far. By far.
Yeah, that's a very, very good video. Very good points. Very interesting and strident points too.
Yeah, really, really good video. Was that at the end of it?
Yes.
Ah,
Only 11
good
minutes.
video.
It still took us like half an hour to get it through.
Sure, but like, you know. Yeah, no, that was excellent. Guy, what's the name of the...
A feral historian.
Yeah, right, okay. Well, that guy's a good champ. Definitely, probably worth watching more of his videos.
Definitely, yeah. Well thought out, well delivered. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, no messing around, no meat to cut from it.
Yeah. Oh, genuinely, 11 minutes, perfect.
Mm.
And again, it's a nice thing to realize that these two things that are viewed in our public consciousness very differently are actually very similar, and the differences are largely coats of paints, much due to Paul Verhoeven's fucking intervention.
Yeah, or where they're not like coats of paint, it's more sort of like personal disposition as well. It's like, well, I want to have an optimistic view of the future. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have a realistic view of the future. We're going to be at war with aliens, okay?
The aliens will not give us the hyperdrive. They'll try to bomb us.
Yeah, we'll have to take it by force, which means you've got to stop being a lazy fat layabout.
Yep.
Hard life.
It's a tough life, but that's what it is. And today we've actually got enough time to spare for the Superchats too.
Yay.
As we were going to try to get these to about 2 hours.
Yes, that is the goal.
That is the goal. Zero Firewater. So, Sargon, what's your take on the Kingdom 2 Deliverance drama? Oh, have you been paying attention to that?
Yes, I'm just saying that obviously the unskippable gay sex scene is essential to the plot. It's not woke. What are you talking about?
Nope.
Okay, so I actually don't know. I was just being facetious. I actually don't know what the circumstance is yet. I personally like Daniel Vavra. I admire his outspokenness during Gamergate, and I don't know until I see it, until it's released and we can actually find out what the deal is, what's happening with that. I don't want to rush to judgment.
Yeah, I'm largely of the similar opinion, although slowly losing patience with Warhorse.
Why?
They've been digging themselves too much of a hole. All they really need to do, because the reason for the gay scene, which isn't unskippable, it's a side scene that you can find, and you need to pass like 4 or 5 speech checks to get it.
Right.
Is their argument is player choice. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. If there's a gay guy who plays this and really wants the gay sex scene, like, it doesn't really bother me.
No, I'm not very bothered by it.
And there being a black character from Mali in the game who's a scholar who was brought to Bohemia by a conquering foreign army, basically, as a curiosity, practically.
Yeah, I mean, that's plausible. That could have happened.
Yeah. And that's pretty much my position too. But a lot of people have also been pointing out, and I can't really argue against this point, is why was it added in the first place? Because now we begin speculating as to the intent of the writer and the creator. Did he happen across the writings of Ibn bin Rushd, for example, and thought hey, Arab scholar, that's kind of cool. Let's introduce one. Or was he thinking, I gotta get a black person in here somehow?
Wow, hey, we've been warning about this for fucking years, haven't we? So look, if you force diversity into everything, that means everything becomes suspect when diversity is present. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we were warning about this for fucking years. And now we've arrived at that point where even Daniel Vavra becomes a suspect property now, right? Where it's like, look, bro, I'm sorry, but we have to be suspicious on this. I'm very much a member of the gatekeepers as anyone else, and even with someone and let's be honest, Daniel Vavra is credentialed in this regard, right? He stuck his neck out when he didn't have to. He took a bunch of fucking stress back in 2014, 2015 over this. He didn't back down on his position, as far as I'm aware. And even Daniel Vavra's game is questioning that now. So it's like this is how much of a problem artificial diversity, forced insertion of characters for identity reasons is. And and like I said, I'm gonna give Daniel Vavra the benefit of the doubt because he's shown himself to be a decent chap in the past. So I'm not gonna rush to judgment and condemn blah blah blah. But I don't know. I don't know who's got what on him. So, and I understand a company bought his studio, right?
I have lost.
Yes, Warhorse is now a subsidiary of Pano something, which are in turn a subsidiary of Embracer Group, which is a very big gaming conglomerate who owns a lot of games. And they're being published by Deep Silver, who were probably the ones who ruined the last Saints Row game.
Right, okay. So basically, there is a reason to think that Warhorse could have been compromised. So there is a reason to think that this could be woke stuff being put in the game. So, yeah.
Yes. And again, Daniel Vavra has been very much so on our side. He's a very vehement anti-communist.
Yep.
Not strange considering where he grew up.
Yeah, he's Czech Republic or something, isn't it?
Yeah, they didn't have a great history with that.
No. If my country had been occupied by the Soviet Union, I'd hate communism too.
Yep. But he's been doing himself no favors. He's been very antagonistic with people. He's been very shouting. He's been very avoidy, dancing around the issue.
Yeah.
And again, people are very suspicious of all of this now. Everyone's wokedar is tuned to a hair trigger.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. And like you say, if it was Ibn al-Rus or whatever his name was, the guy who gets captured and is the basis for 13th Warrior and stuff like that. It is, and the thing is as well, it is cool to have a person from an alien culture come into your culture and they highlight strange things and reveal to you aspects of your own culture you didn't even think about, right? This is a cool thing to have in games, and it adds dimension to the world that you're building. And so it's not bad to have it, but you have it for your benefit, not for the benefit of the alien culture, right? It's not to say, look, Muslims or whoever, we've got your sort of foot in the door here. You say you do it to reflect on yourselves, not for someone else. And this, again, it just, the whole thing has put everything in question. Everything is in doubt now. It's sorry.
Yep. And again, their community management team has been doing nothing but dumb things. They
shitting the bed, yeah.
Yep. They added new community guidelines and rules of service where the worst part is they have a section at the top which simply says no politics, no religion.
Oh,
Done.
yeah, good idea. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's your terms of service. Finished. And then they go on, no neo-Nazism, no, God.
No homophobia, no racism.
Yes.
Oh, now we've got the isms. And you were telling me about no politics just now. What?
Exactly. It's like, oh, well,
Ism
I'm sure
means
the
political
200
ideology.
skinheads in the world feel very put off by this.
But like as soon as you start talking about isms, you are mentioning political ideology. Ism means ideology. So don't give me this bullshit.
And again, like literally, if they had put out a new community service going, no politics, no religion, fuck, perfect. I would embrace that happily.
Yeah, that's all I want.
But instead, they have to do that and then a whole scree where they bow to the leftist talking points.
No transphobia, guys. Oh, dear. All right.
Listen, you don't get to talk about politics. I'm now going to outline the politics of one side. Wink, wink.
Yeah, no politics, which means being a leftist.
It's an annoying situation because I feel as well as many of us are in too much of a fight or flight mode where we are only able to reject rather than try to conquer. Because that's what the left did. They took stuff over. They moved into comics, entertainment, into movies, television, 40K, and started to go like, hey, this is mine now.
Yeah.
And now that we are in the ascendancy, we should do the same. We should try to claim the ground instead of burning it.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Oh, why are you not loading? There we go. Amalgamite for $20. Thank you very much. Sorry I'm late. Hopefully I'm in time to pay for your silence. You know what I'm talking about. That's right. Thank you for reminding me.
I don't know. What?
Is $20 enough? But it's going to be a monthly installment. Excited to listen to this one. Star Trek is better than Star Wars, by the way.
Well, then they're two different things.
Yeah, I was about to say, do I agree with that?
So it's not that it's apples to oranges, because Star Wars is a singular narrative about a family, right, and about politics. But Star Trek isn't. Star Trek is about a civilizational and worldview that is being promoted. So I don't think it's fair to compare.
I haven't watched enough Star Trek to really compare. Plus, I know I'm not the target audience because I actually kind of enjoyed STD because there were lots of shooting and I could just turn off my brain and go like, hey, stupid space people are shooting at each other.
I have lost.
Well, Star Trek, at least in the 90s, was... the original Star Trek was less politically correct and less... not less philosophical, actually, that's not true, but just less managerial, right? So in the Next Generation onwards, it's a lot more, we'll sit down and have a committee meeting to decide what we're going to do. So honestly, it's a lot more like the EU in space. Whereas,
the EU in space.
Yeah, I know, which isn't selling it, I have to admit.
It's not a glowing recommendation, no.
No, it's not. That isn't. No, I think about it. But yeah, so Star Trek, like the Next Generation, is much more like the EU in space, whereas Star Trek, the original series, is much more like Donald Trump in space. So, but the essential nature of them is not terribly different. The essential ideological values are not terribly different. It's more the methods that are different.
Yeah. MGM, did you watch Aka 13? I have not gotten around to it yet, no.
I've never heard of it.
Marksman, hail Sargon. As Papa Jim is still at the store, we have come to see our internet grandpa. An army of 13-year-old mercenary children. Stand ready for your order, sir. What part of the internet will set fire on your behalf?
Well, I don't have anything to hand, I'm afraid. So I can't recommend anything.
Vulture 1066 Lumi Discourse Porkson with Sargon.
What?
No, chat. I will keep Sargon away from my weird VTubers.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I swear, last podcast I had 2 women on. I was close to vomiting of the shit they talked about.
There's your first mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was one I will not make again soon.
No, I'm just joking. Some of my best friends are women. And just in case my wife ever watches this, I don't have any female friends, darling.
Don't blame California. Blame the voting machines. Ooh.
Wow.
Can't we blame both?
Well, I'm going to blame Ronald Reagan for his amnesty and California Democrat.
Although, after the fires, there's going to be a lot of California Democrats who are now going to have their first brush with the institutional system of gaining permits for rebuilding.
There is.
That encounter with bureaucracy might put a few of them off.
You know, I've seen a lot of people optimistically saying that, and I'm going to confidently say that these morons are going to continue voting Democrat.
You may have burned my house down, but God damn it, I will continue voting for you.
Your sheer unbridled arrogance and ignorance and pig-headed refusal to do the right thing may have resulted in me losing everything I have, but trans rights are human rights, bro.
No matter how many beachfront properties we must lose.
Yeah, literally, it's worth every one of our fucking swimming pools.
We will continue to push for representation in the fire department.
Yeah. No matter how many of my loved ones couldn't get dragged out burning buildings.
Mercenaries 21, last week I was doing delivery when someone came in and grabbed all the delivery items from Taco Bell. They only took the things with the receipt on.
Jesus Christ, imagine living in America.
I saw this clip the other day too, though. Like, there was a FedEx driver who was, delivering packages, and a woman comes up to him and is like, "Hey, that's my package." And he's like, "Okay. Is your name so-and-so?" And she's like, "That's my package." It's not answering the question.
So your name isn't that, then? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you have ID? That's my package. Like,
Clearly it's not.
And you can see the gears spinning in his head as part of him is like, well, I mean, it could be, but you're not giving me any trust here.
Yeah, I'm very much with Heinlein on this. She's lying.
Yeah, he's trying to grab the package out of his hand. I'm sure you've seen the clips as well, where there's a delivery driver delivers the package. A dude walks up whilst the delivery driver is still there and picks it up and just walks away. It's like
a dude. Just a dude.
Ignorant slut.
I think the worst one I saw was a guy walks up, puts down the package, writes on his little notepad, package Y, X, Y, and Z has been delivered. Then he picks it back up again and returns to the truck.
Brilliant. Even the delivery drivers are fucking thieves. Fuck's sake, man. Again, I just can't stand this kind of civilization, and I am totally in favor of whatever draconian measures it requires to get it to stop.
JJ Sickman for €22. Thank you very much. In the Netherlands, we had a shop with everything in display cases. You'd write down the numbers and then go to the clerk and they'd retrieve it from the storage in the back. It went bankrupt because of online shopping.
To be fair, that is how Argos used to work.
For certain items, I'm not even opposed to this. Like, if I'm out getting toothpaste, for example, then sure. But if I'm getting fruits or anything, I like to actually see them and like, okay.
Yeah.
This one is clearly rotten.
Yeah, I like to choose the ones I'm getting.
Yeah, not that one.
Yeah. No. But again, this is progress, Arch.
This is progress. God, you're going to pick up a package of cheese and it's going to have one of those little clothing store markers on it, on the beeps when they go past the scanny thing.
Yeah. That is indeed what's going to happen.
Oh, God. The eccentric ripper for 5 did retail in California for 3 years. They'd steal tents and go out back and live in them. If I stopped them, I'd be fired. Only trespassers police would arrest.
Again, I am in favor of whatever it takes to stop this society from existing. And bringing in a just one.
I love the idea of that, though. A dude just enters the store like, hey, hi. Grabs a tent, walks out. Starts setting it up in the parking lot.
I can't fucking take it. I hate it so much.
Like, shame. Shame is a societal sense that we have let atrophy to a ridiculous point.
But also just punishment. Fucking punish him. Fuck's sake, man. I hate this. Oh, well, you just let him go. It's like, no, then the whole thing breaks down. Okay? If we all do that, then the whole thing fucking breaks down. Call the cops, have the cops arrest him, and punish him. Do it a couple of times, get some severe sentences, and people will stop doing it.
Yeah, and again, public, because you need to bring back the shaming part of this.
Oh, yeah.
There needs to be an immediate feeling in the pit of the person's stomach that, oh, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Instead of, no, it's my right to have this handbag.
Fire is the answer.
My right to steal from your shop. Fuck off. Fuck off. God, get the idea. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Chat, if you do not agree with the right to steal, you must like video, because YouTube algorithm demands it.
Yeah.
Scarlet Strange.
Like if you disagree.
Sargon, what's this berserker doing on your bridge again? That was a chat story about the one Viking holding off the entire English army. I liked it.
Oh, right. Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm always, not skeptical about the story, but, it's hard to believe in.
Nah, the Norwegians are inherently superior to most English people, particularly back then.
I mean, it's going to be genetically difficult to distinguish a Norwegian from an English person. But I don't know. It just feels like a real sort of like, well, okay, we'll send someone else in. Well, no, you get a bow, get 500 guys, get bows, and just shoot him. What are we doing?
That is true.
It's hard to believe that was just not just done. It's like, what? Okay, who cares if he's got an axe? Shoot him with bows.
You'd think somebody in the crowd would be like, yes, bring up the archers.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we having a conversation about this, dummies?
Tara Tyne, Arch, some lawyers are saying Joe Biden's pardons might not be legal. Well, I look forward to hearing about that in another 7 years.
Well, yeah. You know what Trump did the other day, though? Say, the funny thing about Joe Biden is he pardoned his whole family, but he didn't pardon himself. Oh, really? Oh, I like the way your mind's working here, Mr. Trump.
Didn't he now? Oh.
He did. That's interesting.
And again, pardoning his son, okay, if you don't agree with it, at least you can see a part of the rationale. Flesh and blood, he's fucking up, he's trying to fix his life, and you're just, as a dad, you're like, oh, God. But pardoning Fauci, too, and everyone else, okay.
Everyone involved in the Jan 6 committee. It's like, sorry, the committee? What have they done wrong? Wow, great question. Don't ask.
Yeah, because again, then you have to then immediately ask the question, hold on there.
I didn't even realize they were guilty of something.
I'm thinking it now, though.
Exactly, and that's literally what everyone's reaction's been. It's like, oh, so they committed a crime then.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody realized until you pardoned them.
It makes the January 6th committee look even worse.
Yeah.
And it makes the Republicans' refusal to be a part of it look a lot better. Like, what did they know?
Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. It's like, oh, they weren't implicated.
I have lost.
Interesting.
Shit.
Yeah, almost as if they knew that this was going to be some shady shit and didn't want to get the shit on their shoes.
Yeah, very interesting.
Inquisitor Media, Reddit is to forums as Walmart is to local shops.
True, yeah.
Rubberleg623, this is for Sargon, God Emperor Neoth.
Oh, God. Don't even.
Don't fucking even, indeed. God, I will never understand what they were thinking.
No.
It's like,
On a quick side note, though, any news on the Cavill show?
not yet. It's probably gonna. He's probably busy now with filming Highlander.
Oh, really? Is he like the Highlander? Is
Yes.
he? Okay, fair enough.
So
Definitely
there's
could've
probably
chosen
going to be
someone-
years before we know anything solid about it.
Right, okay.
The
Well,
only
Cavill's
thing
Highlander's not bad.
yeah, no, that could be good.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is that I have a dude inside of Amazon. He often gives me some interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And there is still nothing in the Amazon system about the GW Amazon collaboration. At first, we thought that meant that they were having trouble, so it wasn't, getting through.
Yeah.
But now that we know it's through, and there's still nothing in the system, no reports or files or requests for funds or anything, they're probably keeping it really hush-hush, which kind of makes me optimistic, because that makes me think that maybe Cavill is pushing a lot of stuff that is not on the official agenda, shall we say?
Maybe they're trying to stop their own internal activist class from freaking out or something.
Yeah, from getting a whiff of what they're planning.
Or maybe it's hyper fucking woke.
And they're trying to stop us from noticing, yeah.
Exactly. They're trying to stop the thing from having a ruined reputation before it gets out of the gate.
Entirely possible. Like this is definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it could literally be either one of these possibilities. Hopefully, Trump is making it so it's the one that's good for us, though.
I mean, the bans on DEI, all that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's and Trump's executive orders have just been fucking magnificent. Like, come on, bro. Like, he is just balls to the wall. Everyone's fucked now.
Yep.
Trump is back. And I've been stewing for 4 years on this. You're all fucked. Love it. Love it. Love it. Keep getting Trump. Fucking nail him, buddy.
Trevor and Sargon. Dankula has a great Ruby Ridge video. I'm sure he does, but I still don't know if I want to educate myself on this. Especially not if it'll keep getting me superchats if I remain ignorant.
Yeah, if I remain ignorant on Ruby Ridge, you guys send more money. Arch, I'm gonna message you something. Do us a favor, play that on silent. This is the latest thing I've painted, so I want to show it off.
All right. Oh, you're sending it.
I just DM'd it to you on Discord.
Did you?
The Arch and Sargon thing. I mean, I can send it to
there you go. Yep. In the video room chatty thingy.
Yeah.
I've realised that I've become rather obsessed with the concept.
Turn the volume off so I can hear myself. But what do you reckon?
There you go. Hey, that looks really nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, I got I went on eBay or whatever and found just some 3D model 3D printing thing, and they printed off just a bunch of transparent resin muzzle flares. And I was like, oh, that is cool. And so I just got something I'd already painted, the Terminator, and stuck it on, did a bit of heat on the barrels, and man, it came out all right, didn't it?
Like, the muzzle flare really helps a lot.
Doesn't it? Like, I'm going to do a little video on this, talking about the sort of the effect that it has. Like, I'm really pleased with the electric on the Power Fist, but the muzzle flare is another level to it, where it's like, look, this isn't a snapshot of an image in motion, rather than someone posing for a photo.
Yes, it gives it a lot more life.
Yeah, and producing little gun flares, come on, Games Workshop, you could definitely do that. I buy the sprues, you've got loads of little ancillary things, 5 different muzzle flashes, could be a very easy thing for you to do for bolters, and if you think about it, it's like suddenly it brings the whole fucking thing to life, and it's just like, why don't they do this?
Yeah, no, now that I'm seeing it too, I'm really wondering, why doesn't GW do that?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the electric effect on the Power Fist as well. That took a long time to do, but it's not as good as the muzzle flash. You know, it's a nice thing, but it's not as good as. But the muzzle flash, it's such an easy thing. It's such an easy thing.
Gives the model a lot of life. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I just don't know why they don't do it. Anyway, you can stop that. I just want to brag about the thing I painted.
Well, I have nothing else to bring up there, so I'm just going to let it spin in the background. Counterstructure. Course, everything shall be equalized. Ages, too. No. It shall be stratified. The children shall work in the fields. Zeloxen Doppelganger. Forced labor for illegals. Well, just snap them up at the border. Like, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go to the farm now.
Well, I mean, it'd stop them coming, wouldn't it?
Would it? Depends if we paid them, I guess.
Well, yeah. But, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe. But if that's the case, why allow them to be free in the United States, Just have a work program.
Literally, just the trucks show up at the border every day, load up, drive to the farm.
Maybe.
Drop them off in the afternoon.
Yeah, maybe.
Boycott Warhammer Plus for £5. Hail Arch and Sargon. Have you seen that upcoming Norwegian film coming out of 2025? Spermageddon. Sadly, I have. And no, I'm not gonna watch that.
I have not heard of this.
It is a weird little... I don't even know how to describe it. I want to forget that it exists, quite simply. Sean King for 5 Canadian. I got a Sternguard veteran squad that came with my Leviathan set. I'm doing them up as Dark Angels and wanted to know what color to paint them.
Well, I mean, dark green is Dark Angels, but don't do them that if they're Terminators. Well, they're not the Sternguard veteran squad, but like everyone has been on my case for doing my Dark Angels Terminators dark green. It's like, look, I think they look nice. That's literally I don't care. Like, I did the helmets in bone to, sort of like be like, okay, fine, I'll do a bit of bone white on them. But they just look awesome in dark green. And it's probably because we never see the Dark Angels Terminators in dark green that I think they look so nice. But I just like having dark green Dark Angels Terminators. So I'm doing it.
I wonder, because they get white because they're part of the Raven something or other.
Raven Wing?
Is it Raven Wing? It might be the Raven Wing, yeah.
I don't know.
My Dark Angels lore is not fully updated, but I do know that they're in white. But would the veterans be in white? The Sternguard ones?
No, they'd probably be in green, I assume. To be honest, I'm not a lore guy. I don't know. I just play the game and paint the models.
I would think, because I thought the Deathwing being white were because they were Terminators.
I assumed it was too.
I'll have to look into this later now. Matthew Hammond, with the fall of progressive and legacy news websites and Elon buying Twitter, can we assume the unified progressive voice fell apart when this happened? It's definitely beginning to fall apart. There's definitely a splintering going on within media. And a part of this is definitely the rat scurrying to flee the sinking ship as well. When they're looking at the success of Twitter and thinking to themselves, okay, how committed are we to this political part? Do we want to earn money or do we want to keep pushing this into a grave?
Especially when we're going to have the president in opposition to us on this and his administration. And he is an activist president at this point. Like, he's on the march, And it's like, yeah, he is. You had this coming.
Yeah, there was even this one from yesterday. Hollywood is now ready to work with Trump. You didn't hear Biden talking about how to help us. I'm very wary of this. Really, Hollywood? Really? You're ready to work with Trump, are you?
Well, honestly, I think people have got to remember how cowardly and status-seeking these people are, right? It was high status to be a leftist, right? However, that has been completely inverted now. Trump has won everything. He won the popular vote, he won the House, the Senate, the judiciary, and the presidency. he has it all. And so the status-seeking people are looking at the pyramid of power in the United States and saying, I have to become a Republican, basically, if I want to have status and access. Because the woke stuff has become vulgar, is become cringe, is become embarrassing, and everyone just rolls their fucking eyes when they hear it now. Oh, yeah, oh, systemic racism. All of the elite academic theories are just kind of collapsing as into retarded bluehead Tumblrites who are screeching and nobody likes. You can only this is the brilliant end to the woke movement. In fact, the people who invented wokeism are really intelligent, really, really intelligent, very sophisticated thinkers, and to watch their accomplishments collapse into stupid, selfish, resentful mutants, and for every normal person to go, I'm not having any of that, is just perfect. It's the perfect end to it, because it makes their movement gross. It's like, it doesn't matter how good your arguments are. If I don't want to look at you and can't stand to be around you, I'm not going to hear your arguments. It's such a perfect end to the woke movement. And so this is why I totally believe that Hollywood will flip, because it's just Hollywood used to be super patriotic, man. It used to make films that basically venerated the American family and America itself. It's only in the sort of past 20 years, really, that became super traitorous.
Fire is the answer.
That is true. But I don't like these people. They are traitorous by nature.
But if you're going to send Mel Gibson as your presidential emissary into Hollywood, then you must have, some plan.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, again, just think about 30 years ago, in the 80s and 90s, the kind of films Hollywood made. They were totally patriotic. The straight white American man was the hero of every film.
Yep.
Great. Let's go back to that.
I just hope he watches his back around them.
Well, of course, But the thing is, I think that the status-seeking nature of these people, just the winds will shift.
05 to Archley. This is heresy. They are tainted with chaos. There is no reasoning with them, nor can they be back to normal. All they need is a cleansing fire, and build upon the ashes. Probably in response to the Warhorse thing. See, I get the argument, and I understand the potential for nonsense there, but I also don't necessarily want to rule over the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
A
it
world
would be better to capture it rather than destroy it.
Exactly. I would rather take this ground than see it all be burnt down. Control Tim, did you see the Trump video address at the WEF? He crapped all over them, then they bent the knee and thanked him for doing it. Lol.
Fire is
I didn't see that. Gorgeous. Love it. You see what I mean? A lot of these people are status seeking. All you have to do is be willing to exercise power, and suddenly they will bend the knee, basically.
There was also yes, the World Health Organization begs Trump to reconsider decision to withdraw US.
Ryanair CEO has literally come out and said, yeah, we're happy to help governments repatriate migrants.
See,
I bet you are. The governments are going to pay for it. He's like, yeah, we'll take your money. Yeah, they're going home, bro. Imagine how many flights Ryanair are queuing up. We're going to make money.
There is a lot to be said about just simple power politics here.
Oh, yeah.
Where, again, like we said earlier, the plans of the European nations to handle Trump is to bend over and let him do whatever they want to them.
Yeah, it's to just loot themselves up. Just look, this isn't going to hurt at all. It's going to go straight in. That's literally their argument.
And the WHO is pretty much the same thing. I mean, the goddamn Paris Climate Accord. It is the worst deal America could ever take. It gives China every advantage, and it gives America nothing but obligations. Like, it is national suicide to sign such a bill, and yet America has actually been self-harming enough to do so. And then a man comes along and goes like, hold on, this gives us nothing. I'm going to repeal it. And people screech at him like, how dare you stop us from cutting ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, and this reminds me, the bishop. Did you see that clip?
No, hang on. Oh, yeah, where Vance is just rolling his eyes like, you're going on a list.
Yep. And again, like, I saw so many people comment on this on Twitter, and I am in 100% agreement, because this is a preacher, a religious figure, who is supposed to be giving a religious sermon, and then goes in and starts talking about politics to the president of the United States, who she knows is of the opposing view. She did this to provoke, purely and simply.
Yeah. Yeah, she absolutely knew what she was doing.
Yes. Like, I've even seen some go like, oh, but isn't it like a fundamental Christian virtue to, like, talk about compassion and stuff? One, the non-Christian is lecturing the Christian about what the preacher should do.
Yeah.
And hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not even doing that, but I'm pointing out the innate hypocrisy of it. And two, sure, but that's a weird choice, isn't it? Oh, there are many transgender children who are afraid right now. Are they? Why?
There's no such thing as a transgender child. Sorry.
Slut.
Don't agree with you. I don't believe in it. Sorry.
It was out of line, and it was uncalled for, and if she does go enlist, she probably deserves her place.
Yeah, there was a weather girl who got fired the other day for criticizing Elon Musk, and it's like, look, man, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying that the world has changed, and you need to fucking accordingly align yourself. Because up until 10 minutes ago, any one of us would have been fired for being like, you know, I don't think children actually can be transgender. So, you know, this is the world you made. These are the set of values you instantiated, the procedures on how things should be done. So, you know, I'm not going to cry a fucking tear for you.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, yeah, that's lovely. Let's bring that up for a second there. Or alternatively, eventually, this will be your church chat.
Oh, God, I just hate it so much.
Part of me almost enjoys just the desecration of it, as like there's an element of the rebellious 2000 teenager inside of me that's like, yeah, screw religion, screw all of this, that just looks at this and goes, well, I certainly got what I wanted. I just wasn't aware of the side consequences. Ultrinque Paratus 1349. Carl, could you articulate how the obese communist leaf isn't 100% more subversive, wrong, malevolent, and bad faith than James Lindsay is?
Because Dev is a kind-hearted person. I honestly think Dev is kind-hearted, and I don't think he would knowingly hurt someone. I don't know that about James Lindsay. And
citizenship.
no, I don't. I genuinely don't know that about James Lindsay. And also, Dev isn't trying to be subversive, I think. I think what Dev is trying to do is stay true to a faith that he has adopted. And I don't think his bad behavior is what he personally feels should be done. I think it's more, this is what ideology does to people and it captures them.
To put it like this, if Dev is trying to be subversive, he's doing a terrible job of it.
Yeah, exactly. He's done a very bad job of it.
Sujard for €10. Ruby Ridge can be boiled down to government sending feds to raid a guy because he missed a court date. Killed his kid, dog, wife. Government admits the feds were wrong. Dev is a feckless bleep.
Well, yeah. I don't know Dev's argument, so I don't know what he's arguing in defense of it.
Most next anyone. Arch, you can't read. You can't spell. Look on Google Map. Look on Google Map of DC, PF, Washington, DC is gone. That is legally required everywhere.
Heresy's the question. Fire
Washington Google Maps. Okay. Washington. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking for. That's the problem. But I presume it's still there. If it's been abducted by aliens, well, then so the better for all the rest of us. Alex Roberts for $20. My Lord and Master Arch, I think your military analysis is very good, but remember you... Stop that, YouTube. I hate when YouTube scrolls on the reading. It's like, you touch the thing. It's like, I'm going to move you all the way to the bottom now. Screw you.
Yep.
Very good, but I remember you making comments on post-war clash between the Reds and the Allies, and I think logistic equipment involved makes it far less clear. Oh, I think the Allies would be cream-pied by the Soviet Union. I think the Allies would be like, oh my, we have a massive material superiority over the Germans. They barely have artillery, they barely have tanks, they barely have aircraft, and then the Soviets will arrive with their 5,000 artillery pieces and 20,000 tanks, and the Allies will be like, wow, I didn't want this to happen. I need to do a full theory crafting on the potential, the operation the Allies had planned to attack the Soviet Union immediately after the end of World War II. Because that's a very interesting subject, and I think the Allies would be just rolled over.
I haven't looked into it. I can't imagine it'd go well, though.
It would be, it would go very badly for both in terms of casualties, at least. It would suck.
Yeah. I mean, it would cost millions of lives, so...
Hugo Fugi. Red Danger in chat. Hold your souls tight as Kibbs's cheeks. Janine Cat. Play Nun Holy on stream. Vampire Nun Hades. Nun Holy. Right. I'll put that in a side tab. WMC Wolverine for 20. 1 and 2. Greetings to Saint Arch and Saint Sargon. We are saints now.
Oh, wow.
I have lost.
In regards to the whole TikTok brainwashing America youth into thinking China is this great utopia, I've seen it firsthand. It convinced him into thinking African tribes have the ability to use telepathy. Russia showing that Jesus was black and that China is better and cleaner than the US.
Well.
Now,
I don't really have anything to say. That's okay, fine.
That is the thing. I saw TikToks coming out after the ban about a woman screeching like, banning apps is what fascist countries do.
Yeah. China's got everything banned. China's banned TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok is not available in China.
Yeah.
We've created this generation of people who view China as this mystical, weird land off in the distance that is all rainbows and roses. Whilst in reality, China's barely a post-agrarian society. Like, most of their people are still working on rice paddies.
And those that aren't are working in 19th century industrial revolution conditions.
Yeah, have you seen the Chinese content farms?
I have, actually. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's great. Like, you have, like, just huge numbers of cubicles where people sit doing brainless TikToks hour in and hour out. Like, it's
hardly any better than doing any other manual labor.
Yes.
I mean, literally, like, you know, the sort of like TikTok, there's where they mimic an NPC reaction and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, but how is this any different to putting things in a box, or stacking things on shelves, or it's literally just manual labor.
Yeah. This one's brilliant. So, there's what, like 3-4 dozen young girls, all with the same Ring camera, sitting outside, all doing like little dumb TikTok things, like little React things, or talking to the camera, or little like makeup things.
Just like, okay, but like, why aren't they like it's literally industrialized.
Yeah. This is how advertisement is done now.
I have lost.
This is how they generate hits and clicks. Like, just 1,000 Chinese people in 1,000 tiny cubicles. Oh god, it is so fucking insane.
Mad, isn't it?
China is not this magical, mysterious, magical land that is somehow greater than America. It doesn't have more freedoms. It certainly doesn't have more prosperity. And it certainly doesn't have more liberties for the people in it. But
No,
TikTok
it definitely does not.
has created this false impression of that, and far too many Americans are buying into it.
I have lost.
Like,
Shit.
it's the most base level propaganda. It is literally the propaganda poster of the beautiful country. It's like, oh god, I don't even know how this is. Well, no, I know exactly how this happens. It's because we have not educated people about society, reality, and propaganda at all. There's no wonder young people are so susceptible to it, because, well, they don't know any better.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, like, TikTok is being deliberately curated to dement the minds of Western teenagers, and it's working.
Yeah. That's why they ban it in China, because they don't want that.
They know how they run it.
Yeah. It's like, wait, this is a deliberate weapon of psyops. We can't have that operating in our country.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, there's a Chinese version of TikTok. I can't remember the name of it now. But if you look at what's on it, apparently it's just like, high art and fucking, classical music and ballet and high achievement. And it's just like, fucking hell, man, we should have that here. Brainwash the kids.
River Norse for 200 Swedish kroners, thank you. Another banger meeting on Stamford Bridge. Sargon, where do you stand on having Tom Roswell write something for Islander sometime? Or as his conservative paganism, or is, I presume, his conservative paganism too incompatible with your almost Christian conservatism?
No, not at all. I'm actually sympathetic to the pagan ethical system. So, I know I like Tom Roswell as well.
Tarasine for 5. Don't forget the problem with the left vote is that the old generation that keep voting left Labour because they have always voted Labour. Yes. Force of habit. And see, the big problem is it's very difficult to keep oneself fully educated on everything that is going on in politics. It's practically a full-time job at that point. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to keep entirely up to date, but one does need to update one's view on society occasionally. And there's a lot of people who don't do that. Tick tick boom.
Very true.
Vlad Tepes knew how to deal with uninvited guests. Ah yes. Bad neighbors make good fences. Mark Duchesne, all men are equal until women came along arguing amongst themselves on who had the better man. Thus master and servant were born. The root of all evil, women.
Yes.
Vitaly Klemenchuk. Hey, Carl, look into Anar Seldane and his war against cons infected with the boomer mindset, like Rufo in his Panda Express, Zoomer Waffen Unite.
Sorry, look, say it again.
At Anar Seldane. Anar Seldane.
Right.
Anar Seldane. Glow in the Dark. Arch, biggest fish Norwegian streaming and probably makes up 25% of the Norwegian entertainment industry. Truly being a big fish in a small pond has advantages. It does. The only problem is this is now listed publicly, and so I'm sure the government is salivating. Glow in the Dark. Most unrealistic future post-scarcity Star Trek. Maybe? Like, out of the big three, I would probably say so. Brendan, finally off work. Sargon, has Arch told you about the fanfics him and Madame Savvy have been writing? I did. He's becoming more degenerate, Lumicast. I did nothing. The women did it all themselves. Tenacious B, if I donate on Streamlabs, does it generate a super chat that you read out? Yes, it does. I was going to do 20, but I didn't want YouTube to get $6.66 out of it. Yes, Streamlabs is always the superior option, because it takes money out of YouTube's pocket. 05 to Archlane. This is a heresy. Bishop, women aren't supposed to be pastors or bishops. That sounds like blasphemy. You're living in a far more progressive age. We can have gay bishops now. Gay female bishops, even.
Yeah, it's weird that the Bible literally has no effect on who can and can't be a bishop at this point. It's very strange, isn't it?
Well, the Bible is but a gentle guideline written by bigots and transphobes now. Grammatron 3000. And you know what? This children stuff should be so foreign, should be unthinkable. However, we've imported people who don't have that value system. Correct. That's a child criminal thing, I guess. And you know, the idea of employing a child as an assassin should be unthinkable.
Well, it is to us, but...
But indeed. Brandon, if you want a really brutal version of the future, read Old Man's War. Humanity goes to the stars and has to fight for every inch. I do suspect that might be the realistic outcome. Glow in the Dark, the Chinese did attempt exploration. Admiral Zheng He looked up the Chinese treasure fleet. Problem with it was, like many imperial Chinese projects, overly expensive, Chinese superiority ego, and dynasty fell. That and their ships were shit. Overlord, you can be peaceful, but you know you will come across the Borg at some point, so choose your balance carefully. We come in peace, but carry a big stick. Glow in the Dark. Chinese ego was understandable back then. Everyone around you is weaker, poorer than you, more advanced, and everyone mimics you, but can't match still. Whereas the current Chinese is less ego and more long-term victim complex, particularly after what the Brits did to them.
Yeah, there is a lot of that.
Yep. The Opium Wars were not gentle on the Chinese.
The Boxer Rebellion was apparently mental. I've not looked into it in any great depth, but you look at the numbers and you're like, Jesus.
Oh, the Boxer Rebellion was... See, people bring up Japan. It was nuked twice. And yeah, that's pretty bad. But I want to point out, China was invaded by the British Empire, Russia, Japan, France, Germany, United States, Italy, and Austria-Hungary.
Yeah.
Literally every single superpower on Earth descended on them.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, pretty rough. Pretty rough indeed. Oh yeah, I'll look. So here we go. Casualties and losses: 200 Westerners, 100,000 dead Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we made them execute them afterwards. We're like, oh, hey, yeah, now you need to start cleansing your own ethnic minorities.
God. History's rough.
Yep. History's rough. Oh, the Box Rebellion. Mal Roadkill. I actually did a high school paper on Harald Hardroder. Too cool. I love the story of how he escaped over the Bosphorus anti-shipping chain. Oh, yeah. Awesome guy. Saw on the Lich, a Devon's role model and Olympic-level jaw contortionist, Dex Sest Pestany. Oh, yeah, he was getting sued again, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I got in trouble for leaking videos of former girlfriend. There's no one above the law and believe all victims, right?
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah, so Destiny is in trouble somehow.
Yes, I think he was getting sued or there was a police report or something.
Right.
Apparently his ex-girlfriend did not appreciate him uploading videos of her to the internet.
Really?
Weird. And I do indeed believe that is a crime. So, whoopsie. Dax T. Crowley for 2. The deed is done. Have a good day. Thank you. There will be more art for you to enjoy soon, chat. Horwitz, Feinberg and Horwitz. Done it. I missed over an hour of the Brogrins. Curses and more curses. Yeah, you should have been earlier. Shame on you. Adam Acumen. Arch trying to charm us with his Norwegian magic. See, Norway is great if you just look away from the fact that you're going to be paying like 70% of your income in taxes and tariffs and fees. Besides that, it's wonderful. Jizzy Dink, sorry to keep beating on this drum, but did you see one of the KC2 peeps on Twitter say that Henry only wasn't possibly gay in the first game due to budget constraints? Could there be a typical
wasn't that a
manager?
community manager or something that said that?
Yeah, community manager, yes.
So I don't know whether that's true or not. And again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I felt like it came across as if it was intended as a joke, but I'm also thinking like, are you in a position to be joking about this now?
Well, yeah.
Boog, please invite Razorfist to talk about Star Trek. Maybe. Definitely not Trotskyists. Becomes a member. Thank you very much, sir. Sujad, Vavra has bent the knee. Everything they've done over the last week is masterclass on how to fuck up good PR. This year's Helldivers 2, Star Sector. Yeah, I will admit, like, all they needed to do was shut up or just very calmly, like, do a Q&A or, like, contact the people who are hostile towards you and talk with them, like, explain why you're doing and why you're doing it. And they would have avoided a lot of this. But instead, they're antagonistic, they're evasive, they're dodging the questions, they're trying to mislead, and they're cracking jokes, and they're updating TOS. It's like,
Yeah.
There is such a thing as negative PR. It's time people learned this.
Oh, yeah, very, very much so, in fact.
Mercenaries 1, Kingdom 2 added this at the behest of the parent company. Very possibly, very possibly. The real Zartax, a feminist Malian scholar in Bohemia is absolutely not plausible whatsoever. Mali had 0 native scholars of note, and they gave away female slaves to cannibal visitors for them to eat. Jesus.
No, hang on, that's not true. There's a grand mosque there that's made out of clay, but it still exists, and they did have some scholars there.
Yes, I actually looked into this because Mali was actually a fairly impressive empire for the time in Africa.
Yeah.
Culturally, as well as like size-wise and militarily, they were known as a center for scholarly pursuits in Africa.
So it's entirely possible they could have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as for his take on feminism, well, here's the thing. A Muslim is going to say that Islam is better than Christianity. Shocking, I know. But in his worldview...
Breaking news.
Yeah, in his morality, like covering up a woman, for example, entirely, is more moral than allowing her to walk around uncovered. So he's going to say that my religion is clearly better for women because that's what he thinks.
Yeah.
And he's not going to mention the fact that at the time, I still think they were sewing women's vaginas shut to make sure they were virgins. Because again, in his worldview, that is actually good for them because it prevents them from ruining their lives with uncontrolled sex and not being manageable. Again, we don't need to take these characters' words for what they're saying. If an Islamic scholar from Mali tells you that they have a superior view on women, it might not be superior in our morality. But that is also the reason why it's interesting to have these characters in the game, because then you can ask yourself questions like that. Is his society really better for women, or is he simply just towing the party line in essence?
Yeah.
Sajad, I cancelled my Steam pre-order over how badly he fucked it up. In 2015, he was adamant that there would be no blacks in Bohemia. That's true, and he did dig his grave with that too, because he made some really strident statements back in the day, which are now coming back to haunt him, and he is not addressing them.
Yeah. And again, to be honest with you, if he could literally just come out and say, yeah, that's true, there are no blacks are native to Bohemia. This guy was brought as a slave or something. Okay, fair enough. That's fine.
I have lost.
And he was brought basically as a curiosity by an invading army.
Yeah, that's totally fine. But actually, Henry VIII had a black trumpeter at his court for exactly that reason. He was a Moorish guy who was captured and was brought to the court of Henry VIII because he was, look at this,
Yeah. It's the same reason why Oda Nobunaga was fascinated by Yasuke, because he could bring him to court and introduce other foreign dignitaries to him and go look at this, have you ever seen anything like this? He's black.
Of course you haven't. Look at it. Yeah.
That's status and privilege to a court. Rubleg623, I sent this in last minute on your MLP stream, Arch. It was announced 2 days ago that Rogue Trader has sold 1 million copies on Steam. Very good for them. Nice to see a bit more 40k representation.
How many copies, sorry?
1 million.
That's good.
Very good. Syntho, love this new podcast. I would recommend to link the video in chat after you react to it. It's probably not a terrible idea.
Fire
True.
is the answer.
That is not a terrible idea. No, I just have to find it. Oh, there it is. That is a good idea, chat. Then chat can go bother this person, because he seems cool, and you can tell him that we watched his video and that we like him, and he can be friends with us now. There we go. I'll put that over there. And I'll pin it at the top. Nonald Ferius for $20. Gonna have to disagree with people who think King Sigismund hiring a Muslim doctor is implausible. I wouldn't be shocked if he was hired specifically because he's foreign, considering certain risks for Sigismund. Yeah, that's another thing too. If you're a king and you're worried that your people might try to kill you...
Yep. It honestly, it genuinely, it is not the worst thing in the world to have this kind of character in there. But one, for good reason.
Mm-hmm. Hexy, do not consume the Globo Homo slop. Well, it depends on how much of it it's in there, I guess. El Serrano, Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars is science fantasy. That's a good distinction too, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct.
Noddy's been a member for 1 month. All right, Arch, tell us then, how do we claim ground and good without letting either the hammer and sickle or the cross think it's open for the taking? By arguing the point. Really, just by taking it, frankly. And then when somebody goes, well, it's entertainment, right? The Starship Troopers. For years, they said it was fascist. Okay. Well, now that Sargon was the one who largely started going, no, it's not. Now we see more and more people defending Starship Troopers. That's how you claim ground.
Yep. And this becomes the received wisdom on the subject.
Yeah, and so if you have got Kingdom Come Deliverance here, and we don't know the quest lines yet, but let's assume that the black character is indeed there because the king's kind of worried that he might get assassinated or something.
Or he was captured as a slave and is used as curiosity, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a possible thing.
Then the left goes like, aha, diversity sells. And we go, actually, an interesting quest Yeah, an interesting quest about racism.
Yeah.
Sells.
The entire quest is predicated on racism, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, it literally is racism sells. Oh dear.
Dean Donor 25. The problem with claiming land back from leftists is it's like trying to take back a planet that has been long held by orcs. Oh yeah, sure, it's not the easiest thing to do, but, you know, you gotta do it at some point, don't you? Glow in the Dark. Idea, take Trench Crusade back. The false prophet that rejects the teachings of the book shall be torn asunder. The temples in ruin, their idols cast down. The church will prevail against the demons. Actually, we had a whole conversation, me and Sargon, about how grim dark is become kind of a little bit of a basic setting that a lot of people try to take up, and we want to do something
lazy
more
and
than
cliche.
That. Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, it's actually, the other day I went through some of the old Warhammer images, not the art, but like the old White Dwarf battle scenes, and it's not grim dark. It's, you know, it's not grim dark. It's fun, actually. And like a lot of things just look really cool and really fun. And I realized that like newer, like, but you know, just pictures of the models and stuff didn't really interest me. They look boring, really sterile, you know, whereas the old ones look like there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it preys upon the immediate visceral reaction to seeing something horrible and going, okay, geez, what's happening here? I need to know more.
Yeah.
And in many cases, there isn't actually that much more than that actually going on behind it. It kind of just becomes the terrible thing occurs, and then it's like, okay, but what's the substance? What's the weight behind it? Why is it happening? How is it happening? Well, we'll see. I am not opposed to Trench Crusade growing bigger and trying to take a bit of market share from GW. God knows they need the competition. But in a setting where literal demons invade humanity and the only salvation could possibly come from God, to then have the creators go, this is not a pro-Christian setting, is weird.
What? Why would they say that?
I don't fucking know. I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, what are we opposing the demons with, if not our faith in God?
Yeah, no. I genuinely don't know, but the developers themselves are going like, this is not a pro-Christian game.
Sounds pretty pro-fucking Christian to me, bro.
Exactly. It's like, but it's the only thing standing between me and the rape demon.
Yeah, exactly, huh? You know, and if that becomes the paradigm, then yeah, I'll probably end up believing in God. You know what I mean?
But it's an oppression. Yeah, like, but it's an oppressive religious order. Yeah, but it won't fuck me, so...
Yeah, exactly, but that's fine. I'm pro-repressive religious orders, bro. Now,
yeah.
You know?
The alternative is being eaten or turned into a pain slave.
Yeah.
This is not not equal.
I'm starting to become them not just for purely utilitarian reasons as well. I'm just fucking sick of it, to be honest. Like, for repressive religious order gets you to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Notalfarius for another 20, thank you. In addition to the Islamic world being pretty advanced in medicine, you instill a book by Avinci Ibn Sin to find a cure for the abbot in the first game, but a foreigner is less likely to get involved in local politics. That's true, yeah. And again, our civilization largely collapsed for a while there, along with the Roman Empire, whereas the Muslims did not have a similar collapse for quite some time, but they didn't also strive to improve their knowledge like we did later.
No, not really. They just inherited the Greeks' knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Taratine, Art, how would it go if Trump made it so all state elections are also electoral college, and the cities is maximum 1/3 of the votes? Well, there'd be a lot more red states. That is a question that's kind of difficult, isn't it? Because on the one hand, I'm theoretically for, universal representation. I like the idea, but then you get a lot of people who live in urban bubbles who are not representative of reality, outweighing everybody else.
Yeah. And also, it has to be based on some contribution, because we can't have fucking slackers being like, yeah, no, my contribution to civilization is just as valid as you. It's like, you don't have a job, and I pay for you to exist. No, it's not.
But I'm studying for my genders degree.
Exactly. Making my point for me.
Mercenaries 21, you will have Lumi and Savion again. So much fun. Make me. Sujad, what do you think about Putin looking to extradite Fauci for crimes against humanity?
I mean, he was pardoned in America. He wasn't pardoned in Russia, was he?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to happen about as much as the EU trying to extradite Putin, but it would be funny. Frog Jupiter, they could also go the free speech route in War of Rights, US Civil War first-person shooter. They allow it and lead to some interesting and funny reactions. And one match, we had a commissar reading Karl Marx whilst we're shooting. Mercenary 21, civilian pardons are worthless in front of a military tribunal. Be ready to see those military tribunals very soon. And January 6th committee committed treason. High treason.
Heresy's the question. Fire is the answer.
Good luck on getting a politician to ever stand trial, though.
Yeah.
Sandoom, I hate that I miss most of this because of life. Life is indeed awful. Boog, Sargon, please get on my horse. Don't get on Boog's horse. You don't know where it's been.
Yeah, I think I'll avoid that.
Dean Donald 25. What's really sticking my head about Ruby Ridge is visualizing the dude's wife running away with a baby in her arms and the feds shooting her in the back. Jesus.
Okay, this is sounding less and less defensible the more I hear about it.
Oh, it might have been a bomb she was cradling. Well.
I don't, like I say, I don't know anything about Ruby Ridge, so.
Ben, no Arch, the children yearn for the walls. Just put teenagers on the border walls, give them machine guns, see what happens. Marksman 117B, correction, the wife was hit in the head by a sniper. God. Horrible facts about American law enforcement. Mort 7. Nazar the Scapegoat for 20. Just got back home and see you guys are covering Federal Historian. I've been a fan of his for months now, and I was curious what you thought about his stuff. I hope you like him, because I think he's got some really interesting talks. I like him. He seems like a good dude.
Yeah, I like him too.
Steel Manning. JFK files were declassified an hour ago. I did see that, all of the JFK
were
files.
They? Really? Yep. Jesus, Trump is just fucking flooding the zone with interesting stuff.
Yep. I am looking forward to seeing what the internet will dig up out of those.
Citizenship.
Oh, yeah.
Sujad, we're almost done. As always, Sargon, if you have to head out, just tell me.
Yeah, I think I will head out. But good chat, good stream, and I'll see you next week.
Definitely. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
Let's start up with a few more. Gibson was right about the oven dodgers. Sargon excused himself at just the right moment. Hollywood has always been full of commies, subversive elements. They will turn on you. Guaranteed. Star Sector. That is what I'm worried about too. Because remember, last presidency too, Sargon, Zuckerberg, kind of the same. Zuckerberg too was like, hey, Trump, you're so great. You're so amazing. Hey, Trump, I'll be your friend. And the moment he was out of office, he sharpened his knife. I don't think these people can be trusted. Santum, Sargon, if you had the time and availability, what kind of Skaven would you be in Arch's hypothetical future Skaven RP? He'd be a Gracier. Guaranteed. Zero Firewater. Trish is kind-hearted, Sargon. That went out of the window when he was mirroring destiny. When the firefighter died, he doubles down on stupid his bad faith all the way. He did apologize for that, though, so I don't know. Mercenary 21. Mom saw Trump talk to WEF. She was laughing hard. Good. The Obelisk. We can't rest on laurels. A successor is needed. I need to get an AI to read all the Superchats so we can get them done in the allotted time. Hexy. This is what happens when you let women be pastors, amongst other horrible things. Father Jack the Enlightened. Obviously, she is a butch lesbian there to destroy the church. We have seen the description of the church at the hands of the Rainbow Agenda. Desecration, I presume, yeah. Right, H, you opened this can of worms. Now lie in it. Hexy. Dev is kind-hearted, except to firefighters. Ben. Religious right warned you the left was like this. They did. Mercenary X21. The DC part of Washington, DC is gone. The DC part of Washington is legally required on all maps in the USA. How can I know how it was confused. Rabelais 363. While the Soviets had a theoretical material advantage, logistically the West held the Soviets' heart in their hand. Sort of, but remember, all of the deliveries had already been made. The Soviets were already operating like 100,000 American trucks at that point. And the logistic advantage would not last long enough, I think, to be a serious detriment. Because I think the first clash between the Soviets and the Americans would lead to just mass annihilation of entire Allied armies, straight up, as Soviet deep operation doctrines would just ruin their lines, and then slowly but surely pick apart the scattered and isolated elements of the American and British forces. Oh, and the 5 French dudes that were still there. Vive la France! I hate the French. For no other reason than because they are French. Lord Commons the Spartan's been a member for 24 months, and you've got your nice little icon there. So, Bart, when? 6 months from now. You should play Snoot game, lol. Half the meme quest aside, that muzzle flash was gorgeous. Love the source lighting. Kiddos. I grew up watching live leak videos about China. Maybe that's how we fix it. For every TikTok you watch, you have to watch one live leak video. Silly on the Soviet topics. No, I will out-argue chat on all of this. All of it. The Soviets would cream the fucking Allies. Hexy, do you think Dev will do a Jim Sterling celebration video when he drops below 150k subs? I bet it will at least be entertaining. Well, only if he transitions. Flame Tiger for 20. Hello, my favourite Norwegian man and Englishman. Carl, I've been a fan of you since the pandemic, and as a second-generation African immigrant, I agree on your take on mass immigrations. Nations are not mere economic zones. Correct. David the Red, none of this stealing crap is happening here in Virginia. It's commonly known to be a pro-gun state. Every house in my neighborhood is armed and crime never happens to me and my people. Hail shotguns. True. The real Zartax. The Grand Mosque and their scholars were foreigners, Sargon, not Malian scholars, and that mosque picture you showed was rebuilt by the Westerner. The Malian mosque before that was a hovel. No, it was rebuilt by the French as how they thought it looked like based on the historical records. So it's not like they just made it up. Mr. Personality. The name used for the Doctor is actually the name of the king of that empire. Unity Children of the Cathedral playthrough.
Heresy's the question.
What that do?
Fire is the answer.
9. Startax. Also, you can Google cannibalism in Africa and read the first paragraphs of the wiki article on the West African Middle Ages. Oh, I am sure they ate each other. No question whatsoever. Also, the mosque thing, go check the wiki article for the Great Mosque of Denji right now and click the first few pictures at the top, specifically in the section of the first mosque. Also read the paragraphs before the picture for an absolute hilarious description of the mosque by Western explorers. I shall check out that afterwards. Go in the dark. The concept of eternal war makes 40k grim dark. Right H. Highly recommend YouTube channel Vox in the Void, voice acting channel, mostly 40k. Voice acted Angron in Warrior Tears illustration movie Angron. I haven't heard about it. Body name. Hi Arch, hi Sargon. So when do you introduce Lum Lum and Savvy to Sargon? Never. I have locked this loom for Lum Lums for this specific reason. Hexy, the more you read about Ruby Ridge, the more you will despise the leaf. Remember your word, Sargon. Dave's a good person. Well, boring name Arch. Google Lolly Stalin. See what you get. No. Adam Acumen. Dave's upset at firefighters for refusing to cuck him. Well, that would be upsetting. So if I were to Sargon, if China took over the UK, what would realistically change? A lot would change for America, but I think the British would improve compared to now. Well, they would have less liberties. They wouldn't have access to Google, for example, and the internet. Blonde Adult. Hey, Sargon, how's life under Comrade Starmer in the Democrat People's Republic of the United Kingdom? Terrible, I imagine. Glowy. Chinese war be like a lord fights small mountain tribe, 100,000 dead, famines ensues. Lord deposed by generals, make harem, and then it gets defeated by small tribe. Imperial army mobilized to stabilize land. Lose 2-1 against tribe wins, scenes as great victory. One against tribe wins, scenes as great victory. Yeah, the Chinese were not ready for what the West had in store for them. Too bad for the Chinese, really. As if I wanted to be fair, the Muslims sewing women's vaginas shut or cutting the clitoris, the West does circumcise male babies as a standard, at least in America. Yeah, but there is a difference between circumcision and, sewing a vagina shut. McWell 11, AI reading Superchats would defeat the purpose. Engagement. But what if I made it read it in my voice? What about that? And Frog Jupiter, how Trump gets peace in Ukraine. Gives Putin Fauci. Now that would be funny. It's like, listen, Putin, if you pull back out of Crimea, Fauci will be on a plane tomorrow. That would be very funny, and I would approve of that. And speaking of, there's the declassifying JFK, RFK, and MLK Jr. files decree. Nice. Sadly, it is not him signing the act to deport Fauci to Russia. That would be funny, and I would have liked it, but we haven't got that yet. I'm hoping for tomorrow. Was that everything? I think that was everything. God. I might actually have to employ Lum to read the ArchCast Superchats if this continues. I'm going to wear out my vocal cords at this rate. Whew. Right. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for your recommendations for videos too, by the way. And shit, I can't have two things pinned. Fuck. I'm going to unpin that for a second. And remember that you can go to the Discord channel, which is this link right here, which I shall pin in chat for the next few moments, where you can go to the Arch and Sargon room and suggest videos and stuff for us to look at. I see there's already another 3 in there on Ruby Ridge. We will never educate ourselves on Ruby Ridge. Never, because it's too profitable. And Bob name, AI is still not the same. It can't get mental images like you do, like you and Sargon held captive by some deviant woman with only aprons to cover yourselves. That is a mental image, correct. It is. Not one I desire, though, and frankly, you're kind of making my point for me there, that maybe an AI would be a good way to defend myself from chat's more excessive crimes. But until next week, where we will have another Arch and Sargon, as this will be now a weekly show, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for your generous donations, as always. And I will see you all again tomorrow when we're going to start on The Witcher 3. Oh boy. That's going to be a long stream, isn't it? Yes, it is. Have a good night, chat.